Oh, man. Passed the health checks.
Yeah.
I did pass my health check. I reached between my legs and went, healthy. Checked.
Yep.
All good things. Well, this is fantastic. I really am appreciative of Brandon and Andrew inviting me onto your show. This is I feel honored that you took the time to express interest in some of the things that I was saying, and I really feel thankful that there's other people out there similar to myself who are looking at issues from a different point of view. So this is really exciting. Thank you both.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome on to Diametric Convergence. And again, your name, Rodney A. Dean. And
That's me.
And you need to basically you need to create all the introductions for our episodes, man. You just you basically introduced yourself and showed your light through what you just said. And it's truly an honor as well to have you. I met you a while back through a mutual friend, and you were talking about podcasts back then. And
yeah.
So basically, I remember that, and then I saw your video of you going downtown Denver and just seeing what's going down, and documenting it, which I honestly love to see because I'm trying to see what's going on, but I don't want to go and put myself in the mix of it.
Right.
To me, it's a little dangerous to be going down to, when it gets to become a riot. So, but yeah, thank you for being out there and kind of showing a different side of it and that side, in the streets and talking to people and having fun and just seeing what's going on. But what was your experience with that? And will you just kind of tell everybody who you are? And
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
For real, man. And Andrew, that was great for Brandon, but don't forget to introduce yourself too, Andrew.
Oh, they know who I am. I don't need to introduce myself. Yeah, I'm good. No. I'm still Andrew here every week.
One name.
Here we go.
Gibson.
No, it's not about me. We're about you today. So, I mean, yeah, always appreciate any kind of all the different kinds of voices coming on to talk with us and share their experience. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to know you more.
I thank you both. I really, really do. It's fun to be here and at Diametric Convergence. So I guess to answer the first question, the reason I was down there at downtown Denver at the time was because I was catching the bus to go home. All right, so it wasn't the plan to stay down there and merge with the march at the time. Okay. And what had happened was that they started projecting movies on the Daniel and Fisher Tower down there, and I took out my camera and I started to record the movies that they were projecting on the Daniel and Fisher Tower. Okay, so this is all the stuff that's going on in my head at the time because I'm smoking some really fabulous Colorado weed at the time, and life is really good, okay, and I had music on in the ears, and so everything is really nice, and if you notice, the night was just gorgeous. It was an absolutely beautiful night. And after that, I saw a group of people walking up the 16th Street Mall, or pedestrian mall we have downtown 16th Street, Denver, and I recognized some of the actors in there as being part of the Black Lives Matter group. And my intention has always been is understanding, because from our previous conversation, we were talking about making people understand, or listening to the other side. And recently, there's not a lot of that going on. There's just not. And I saw that they were marching up the 16th Street Mall, and I'm curious always as to people's behavior. I think part of that is from studying a little bit of Austrian economics, and understanding that, praxeology is people's behavior is very, very important when you're talking about how to influence people or incentivize performance, etc. And I was very interested in why Black Lives Matter has made such an impact on white people.
Yeah.
It's a thing that, if it wasn't for white people, there would not be an abolitional movement. There would not be, a lot of things that we take for granted in the progression of equality. But it seems that a lot of times you even hear in my comments in the video that I was counting out the black people. There were 3 black people, and the rest of them matter, and so I took it upon myself to march with them and ask questions and let things be and document what was going on, other than what we have seen around the country with other protests. And let me say this, that the people that were participating in that march were cognizant of the riots around the country, and they made it a point to be a peaceful protest, and I appreciate them about that. There were a couple of people that I ran into down there that I had known previously and recognized, and the idea that they were out to make a point and to get their point across, but not to make a scene, came across very clearly at the first intersection. There were no broken windows, there were things like that. And so what I realized is that these movements are made up of people. And one of the most precious parts of these movements is that people find each other in these movements. And they work to try to stay together because of the importance of what they believe the subject matter is, and the importance of being. Let's put a period at that, because it is, I think one of the biggest challenges people find is having a purpose. And these movements provide purpose, and they provide meaning, and they provide camaraderie and friendship and fellowship. And there's a lot that people do not understand in that, and it was well documented in the march. I feel very fortunate that I was able to talk to so many people there and get their honest feedback. A married couple that met at a march and are married now because of their devotion to equality. And that's huge, because that's a unity that came together for the collective, but they are married to each other. And if you're thinking in those lines, then you're recognizing some of the things that are happening inside of these movements, outside of the nastiness and outside of the trauma and outside of the reckless behavior. There is real solidarity that is being formed in these movements, and it's worth taking a look at. I think that the lessons that I learned from the documenting of the march itself were that inclusiveness matters more so than the color of someone's skin. And being a wheelchair bound activist singing the praises of Jesus, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus quit? No, I'm not going to quit either, as this guy rolls his wheelchair uphill 5 blocks telling the world about,
Yeah,
you see
that guy was super inspiring. I mean, I didn't agree with some of the things, but he was super inspiring how strong he was. It's amazing. I mean, it's just never give up attitude, that Rocky attitude. And I think you're exactly right. People are getting together and coming together, you know, under common goals. And I was just thinking the other day, like, I don't think anyone should get married until they've been through like 8 years of politics, you know, like a couple presidents.
I'm glad you put a qualifier on that, because there's a lot of, marriage. Woo. 8 years, huh? I like it. Okay.
You know, I mean, you never know. But yeah, so I think,
I had a thought on marriage, and I know that this is not going to go very well, but
okay.
and I know that I had an interracial marriage,
Okay.
and I love my babies. Like, they're my chocolate vanilla swirls. They are absolutely delicious daughters to have. They are fabulous and intelligent and wonderful,
Yeah.
and all, but in this day and age, familiarity matters. Understanding what your life is going to turn into with a person matters. And I was thinking about in the olden times when parents arranged marriages for their children, at least the child knew what the spouse was going to turn into because they were raised by them. If
Yeah.
your mom and dad arrange your marriage, they're probably going to arrange you to be with somebody a whole lot like them, right?
Yeah.
And so you've lived with them all your life and you're comfortable with them. And so probably in the process of age and time, you start to become them. And so there's ways that you can get through the tough times that come with bonding. I think in our free society, this is where I'm going to get in trouble. I think in our free society, we have embraced differences so much that we are shocked at what another person can become in our eyesight, because we didn't know their history. They didn't know our history. And when we marry, we try to merge cultures as well as histories, and it becomes shocking. And so in this day and age, marriage in the dating scene is so muddled, and it was hard to see a way to do that without finding a common culture. And that's why I thought that the Black Lives Matter marriage that I witnessed there, the couple that was married from being part of the organization, was really inspiring, because it is a culture building aspect. They're going to associate with people of like mind, etc., and they're going to turn into people that hopefully they turn into people that they love and like.
Yeah, and at least they're, common their common goals are together, and
Right.
they're not going to fight over those things. That's really important.
Right.
That's something that simple or huge, but yeah, I just thought about it the other day. I'm like, maybe people should wait, because you never know someone until you go through times like this.
We're never going to know anyway. We're never going to know anyway. We all change. And
Yeah.
Change is real.
I mean, hopefully we just finally know ourselves by the time we're all said and done. That would be a good goal.
It would be. It would, and it's an attainable thing. I think I talk to a lot of people that want to know themselves, and I want to know myself too. I am single, very single, and so I should not be talking about marriage because I don't know. I am not a relationship counselor, and any information you get on relationships from me, you should consider the source.
Same for me. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I'm not the source for that either.
No, but it's beautiful to see when people get together and it works. Yeah. It is a beautiful thing.
I agree, and I have my own dreams someday, and I'm kind of glad that I waited to get too serious until I'm 35 and still the same way.
Oh, you're still a young man.
Yeah. So I think it's important to grow before you just jump into a relationship. And I tried that and it didn't go as well as I thought it would.
Here's another thing. You're at
Yeah.
the age where goals and dreams matter. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and I would hope that when I get into a relationship, her idea of a good dude is some guy that is going after something with all of his spirit,
True.
and that it's not about the luxury car or the fine, nice things. Hopefully, after the effort that those things come. But I would like to have a companion spirit, I would suppose.
No,
And
that's
that's why I got a dog.
true. I mean, my friend asked me if I write down my goals, and I realized that I haven't been. So, that needs to be my first goal, is to write down my goals, which I talk
Definitely do that.
which I talk about before. I talked about this, and I know this, but sometimes, all of us get off track. So I need to get back on track and start writing my goals, and not just like financial or, business goals, but like personal health goals would be really important, I think, right now, especially.
That's where I'm at.
Really?
Personal health, hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just setting goals for it. Because I've never done that. I've never, looked at it that deeply for myself. I've always looked on the outside. So now I'm kind of learning that if I don't do it, no one's going to do it. So I got to get off my ass.
Got to get off your ass.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and let me speak to that goal setting thing. I think I was in the book "So a Man Thinketh, So He Should Become." Basically, how you think, or whatever.
Yes.
And so if you compartmentalize your pursuits, and I think what they say is say affirmations every day in regards to those things, and be grateful. It's amazing what happens, and without writing things down. But once you write them down, they become concrete. And I honestly believe that I'm where I'm at because I've written down so much stuff.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. It seems when I write it down and I actually do it. So
amazing how that works out.
Yeah. I actually learned this from Earl Nightingale. Do you know who that is, Rodney?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So he's a very inspiring public speaker, and he said that you need to write it down, put it in your wallet, look at it every day. Basically, he's saying meditate on it. And that's what I did to even get into massage school. I just wrote that I wanted to go back to school, and I did it. And
exactly.
But I didn't write down another goal. I forgot about that part. So
well, sometimes you got to go through it, and get it, and then you start over again. So that's not a problem.
Yeah, no, I can do it again. I'm a professional restarter.
There you go. Yeah, I'm stuck on start too, but I'm not saying it.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
I appreciate the effort that you went into formulating the questions that you sent me, and I thank you for doing that, because it gave me some opportunity to think about those things, and it's important when we get together for everyone to know who you are and what you're about and all that other stuff. And it is easy for us to forget that. And, so I appreciate you guys doing that for me.
Oh, no problem, man. That's, it's my pleasure and our pleasure, I'm sure.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It's what we do. We like to be a little bit prepared, even though it doesn't seem like we might be sometimes. We like to make sure we know who we got coming in, and we have plenty of stuff to talk about. So we're not just sitting here going quiet constantly and keeping things going. So
what color of orange do you like in your leaf?
Orange is actually a really powerful color. I was just looking that up today. Really powerful color.
I'm glad that you're saying that, because I'm learning more things. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there. I had thought about a thing that helps repel the effects of a electromagnetic pulse. And what that thing is a water, light, and sound display that intersects the energy of an electromagnetic pulse. Because I believe that you can match the frequencies of light with the frequencies of sound and use water as a medium with nanobots placed in there to directionalize the energy that comes from an electromagnetic pulse. And if you understand the powers that are involved in color, then you can understand how that might be a true possibility that you can throw up a shield made of mist and maybe a sound such as the meditative sound of Om that would reflect or deflect the intensity of an electromagnetic pulse.
Wow.
Thank you, right?
That's
Tell
good,
me I'm not
man.
smoking indica.
Well, I've
Beautiful.
thought about using water as a medium to um, show displays.
Hmm.
Sure, it's already been done, but that's really cool. How you're so you're saying you can make a shield out of water,
Out of mist.
out of mist and sound.
Right. And you use sound to vibrate the nanobots in the mist, and you match the frequency of the energy coming from the electromagnetic pulse with the frequency of sound, and you use
Wow.
the nanobots to directionalize the impact of the sound with the water, and you can literally, in my mind, directionalize an electromagnetic pulse into a storage unit, such as a battery or something.
Wow.
Huh.
And I just looked up the ohm frequency, and that's 432. And
Right.
I'm sure you know about that. How it's like more closer to nature than the 440 frequency that we
Have
are
been
all
subject
tuned
to.
into. Yes. Yeah. Have been subject to is a great way to put it. Yeah, back in the day, I guess they paid someone off to do it the wrong way.
I'm fortunate. I'm going to throw a plug out for a group that I belong to, which is called Liberty on the Rocks, and it is a libertarian organization of a bunch of people that read. I need to learn to read, fellas. I'm going to do that. But these guys read Mises and they read Rothbard and they read other thinkers on the, uh, let's say, the libertarian Austrian economics side of the argument. And not all of the libertarian arguments match up to reality. There are some serious disconnects between what is possible and what is. Period.
Totally.
Okay. So,
Totally.
but the basis of it is that you are responsible for your behavior, and the reflection of that responsibility is in within human action, praxeology. And once you start taking responsibility for yourself, it is harder for you to be in everybody else's business. So one of
So
our
true. So true.
yeah, one of our discussions last night at this fabulous get together that we had, and one of the it was that um, on the homeless issue, and we were describing the challenges that we see presented to us with homelessness. And there's a lot of people that are looking at homelessness as a blight, and they are looking at homelessness as a consequence of an economic consequences of forces, which it is. but they're not thinking of it as a market. And I was homeless for 4 years, and 2 of those were very recent. And I took the opportunity to get to know homelessness with a different lens, because when I was homeless most recently, I was not drug addicted. I was not an alcoholic. Was responsible, but the one of the major causes of homelessness in America is men that are rapidly disassociated with something that they love. So divorces, loss of jobs, loss of status, those things are the major forces that cause homelessness. And many times those men are entangled with women, and so families become homeless. So if you think about the rise, and if you think about the last several decades where jobs were being lost at a tremendous rate, there was a demographic of people between the ages of 25 and 50 that were rapidly separated from everything that they knew. They were rapidly separated from their work, their families, their identities, and that didn't mean that they were worth less. It was just so catastrophic to recover that the options for them to recover became simple. You just do less. And if you do less, then if it is taken away from you, you have less to lose. And so homelessness is a part and parcel part of the economic factor. But we were talking last night and describing how it is a factor that we're not taking account of as separation.
Wow. Yeah, that's I makes complete sense. And how do we support people at that state, because half the time they don't want to even support themselves in a way.
No, that's not necessarily true.
No.
I mean, it's just, if you boil it down, it is they're doing less, but they're not doing. Okay. And so homelessness does not equate to unemployment. A lot of people that are homeless are thoroughly employed, but they live in shelters. They no longer carry the responsibilities of what we would call citizenship, right? They're not going to pay another house note because, hey, look, it's just got snatched out from underneath me after paying on a mortgage for 15 years. I'll be damned if I'm going to do that. I'm already 65 years old, right? They're not going to try to start another meaningful relationship because, hey, look where that got me. I'm sitting here with a child support payment coming off of a $12.95 an hour job, and that leaves me X amount of dollars for the week, and I barely can afford bread, and they give me food stamps now. So they're not going to probably do those things, and they're not going to probably do the other things that we consider important for a stable lifestyle, especially for men. Because men will form packs, and those packs will become violent, and they will call everything something that matters because they want to express themselves. And that's what I feel is some of the challenge that is being brought into this play, is because there's a lot of disenfranchised young men who have not been able to put themselves in a position of success based upon the economics and separation. And that's young men. I'm saying young men between the ages of 25 and 55.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely time, like, men as a whole step up, I believe.
And do what?
Just come together more than anything.
And do what? And do what?
Talk. Talk across the lines,
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know. I just think I think we all have a better, a higher responsibility to just act out of love, speak truth, and don't follow the leader.
Well, okay, I'm going to speak truth to that one thing.
Okay.
Men cannot control women. We need women to control women. Okay?
100%. 100%.
And I think, and this is why I asked and say, and do what? In this day and age, when a man steps up, it is with very, very, very dire consequences if he steps up and steps out of line.
True. Yeah, we don't want that.
Why not? I mean, most of our history is based upon men stepping out of line. It's just until recently have we stopped them from doing so. I mean,
fair point. Fair point. I don't want that again. I mean, we used to do that, and the men there was a patriarchy, and that's how.
Was there?
I believe that.
How did Wyoming pass the first bill to end women's suffrage if there's a patriarchy?
Well, I mean, like in the past, like 100 years is what I'm
That's
trying.
What I'm saying. I'm saying it too.
Okay.
How did they do that if there's a patriarchy? Who voted for it?
I believe we're slowly going in, to the feminine more and more. So I feel there's.
Okay? You have to explain that for me, because I think going into the feminine means one thing, and I think that you think it means another. So explain that for me.
Okay. Yeah. Just like as far as the energy in the world, we've supposedly been in a masculine energy for so long, and we're switching into a feminine, maybe in the stars, so to speak. I don't know too much about it.
No, it's a very valid point. I just wanted to understand what your standard on that was, because I do believe that we are being made more aware of emotion, and it is that quality that we associate with femininity, right?
Okay.
It's the ability to show you how deeply something affects the being. And at one point in time, I think that's what we're talking about when we talk about the toxic patriarchy. It was not good for a man to show emotion, because he would then be considered weak, and then he would be looked upon disfavorably, and then he would be less of a man to other men, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've talked about that in a previous episode.
Why would that be a bad thing?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry. The last part.
So why would that be a bad thing? Why would the shame of not handling masculinity force? Why would that be a bad thing? Why would the peer pressure to be a man, to stand as a man to your decisions and to your actions, and to have to hold that responsibility? Why is it a bad thing for that to be versus?
I don't think it should be a bad thing.
Okay.
It depends on how you define what is a man.
Okay, what do you define it as?
I don't really define it as anything, to be honest. Like, I don't have an actual definition because I'm still finding that out for myself. But I think the common accepted mainstream idea of what a man should be, like from the ideas of like the 50s and before that, where, this man is a central force or pillar of a family unit, where everything revolves around them and everybody relies on this person. But at the same time, like, this man isn't actually looked at as a real human being, just as that kind of man, as they're not looked at as someone who has a full range of emotions and is able to can feel these emotions, but as they're being a man and expected to be that man, they can't, be a whole person at the same time, because that's only one part of who most people are, is that idea of being a man.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree, but I think that it's kind of an important part.
Yeah, for me, I think we should embrace whatever we think is right. And maybe with help from our parents, we can kind of, learn, not like indoctrinate their values, but, we're going to hold the kid's hand as we cross the street. We're not going to let him fall. So
Well,
you're going to teach them certain skills and certain values, right?
experience is a cruel, very, very cruel teacher, right? Because experiences give you the test and then you learn the lesson, right?
Yeah.
And if both genders are experiencing the world at the same level, then the tests are never passed. There has to be a gender outside of the other 72. I'm just going to boil this down to two, and maybe three, if you think of transgendered individuals as being a significant portion of the population to change value. Okay. I believe that there's a lot of transgender people in there, and I understand that that it's made up of a lot of different variables. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that at one point they were of one gender or another gender, and I'm going to skip that issue. Is that fair?
Sure. I think I know what
for these purposes. Yeah.
Okay. And then we're getting back to basically what we're saying is what is a man, right? And I am coming to the point that the genders experience the world differently so that the world can perform. And if both genders experience the world using only the emotive side of the gender population, so if we are only thinking with our feelings, then we forget that the strong industrial side of the gender population also thinks with logic. And both of those are important. It is just as important for, in my opinion, a man, and I'm not saying that women don't have standards, but I think it is important for young men and boys to have heroes that are above the standards that they think they can attain so that they can try to attain those heroes. And heroes do hard things. Heroes solve major problems. Heroes look into the face of the cave where there's gurgles and growls and smoking coming out, and they look to the left and look at the other hero, and they look to the right and look at the other hero, and they say, let's go and make that safe so that we can bring our families here and we can raise our families in shelter. I think that is unique and specific to one gender trait. I'm not saying that there aren't warriors on the other side of the gender trait. There are, obviously. I watch UFC women, and some of them are very fabulous. But I think in general, men look to take on the dangerous challenges, and women look to benefit from those challenges being overcome. But basically, what I'm saying is that it takes both genders to procreate and move things forward, and there are basic things that we do differently, we think differently about, and we should embrace those differences. I think one of the things that we talked about previously is that when your parents make your mate, or when your parents arrange your mates for you, you know that your mate is going to turn into something familiar because it was someone familiar pick them out for you, right? And so that's one of the benefits of arranged marriages that I see.
Okay. Well, yeah, my whole thing with the feminine and the male, the masculine, I just feel like we've all been both. And for me, I believe in like reincarnation, that we come back. So I believe, one lifetime you're a male, one lifetime you're a female, or maybe you are twice. And I believe you're in both bodies to experience different things in life. So that's just.
So what was your last multiple orgasm like?
You'll have to ask her.
I thought I was. I'm sorry.
All right. Let's get into cannabis because you sound really high. How did cannabis find you?
Okay.
It finds you,
How did cannabis find me? That's good. Yeah. Cannabis actually has always been a part of our lives. In my family, it was primarily alcohol, but there was always cannabis around. I do not know of a time when there was not weed being smoked somewhere around me. Ever since I've been about 8.
So
Okay.
it's always been accepted ever since 8.
Yeah, it's like smoking cigarettes for yuppies.
Okay.
Right? It was we was like smoking cigarettes for yuppies. You see a lot of yuppies go around and they do the gym and they run the miles and they eat all the kratom and all that other whatever. But at one point in time, they end up smoking a cigarette on the side of the house. Either?
Yeah, it cut out a little bit. I'm sorry.
Somebody tried to call.
Okay.
Are you back yet?
Yeah. So you were smoking cigarettes on the side of the house, and in your life it was weed.
Now I can't hear you.
Oh, wow.
Hold on a second.
What happened?
Oh, no.
Can you still hear me well enough?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically what Frank, this has gotten ridiculous. I finally figure out the technology to work on the phone and then people want to call me, right?
That's okay.
That's how that goes. Yeah.
Yes, it is. But basically, I figured cannabis has always been around for me. It has always been around the family. But one of the pivotal points that brought me around to cannabis was I was an alcoholic and I was a crackhead. And for a long, long time, it wasn't that I quit. I made it through. Okay. So, but when I had sobered up after I got out of jail, I had quit everything. And I had hung around my friends, and they had, over a period of time, found me to be rather much of an asshole. And because I wasn't doing anything, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke weed. I was just a straight lace, and they liked the fact that I was no longer a drunk because, one, I wasn't falling down through their expensive shit in their house. So they appreciated that.
Yeah.
They also liked the fact that I wasn't a crackhead anymore because they didn't have to go to the pawn shop and pick up their shit.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that did happen, though, was one of my best friends at the time handed me a joint. And he says, Rodney, if you don't smoke this thing, dude, we're just not going to be able to tolerate you much. Because I have always been a smoker, and me giving up cannabis was really, 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 really a challenge. And I smoked the weed, and it made things better. And so I thought, obviously the government has it all wrong for some of these people that are getting out of the situation that they're in because they're trying to be good Christian boys and girls, and they are depriving them of what they need in order to be productive men and women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I became very interested at that point in making sure that cannabis was available for a lot of people and everyone. And I've gone through a lot of iterations between that decision and where I'm at now. But I think that is the starting point of my cannabis activism. And it affected my life from that point on because I started running into people that do fabulous shit. Okay. Is what is the future of cannabis for America? And I have a good answer for that. And that answer is weed athletes and racing sports.
Nice.
And so, what happened was I was volunteering with Colorado Project Pay It Forward. At the time, we fed the hungry and the homeless downtown once a month on a Sunday. And the founder of Colorado Project Pay It Forward, Don, had a birthday party over at one of the consumption lounges named Studio 420. And at the time, it was located in Englewood, Colorado, right over there by Dartmouth and Broadway. Well, when I walked in the door on 420, I walked into a scene I had never seen before. It was two cats standing behind two 21-inch beaker bongs, and they were engaged in what it was called the Smokin' Bowl. The Smokin' Bowl is a progressive race where the two top competitors from the American Bong Racing Association go head to head. And in a progressive race, that's 3 out of 5. The first race is 1 gram of weed. The second race is 2 grams of weed. The third race is 3 grams of weed. The fourth race is 4 grams of weed. No, how does it go? 1, 2, 3. No, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. That's how it goes. 1 gram of weed, 1.5 grams of weed, 2 grams of weed, 2.5 grams of weed, 3 grams. Okay. And so that's 5 races. If you total that all up, that is 10 grams of weed. That is a quarter and an eighth, 3/8 of weed, right? Okay.
Yeah.
They did that in less than 10 minutes. I watched 2 cats smoke massive amounts of weed very, very, very fast in less than 10 minutes. And I watched the winner walk away. He was happy. He was high, but he wasn't a danger to me. And he wasn't a danger to others.
Right.
And he was in love with the fact that he had won a beautiful bong after a long season of smoking against some of the top competitors in the world of competitive pot smoking. And he came out on top, and everybody was happy, and we had a great time. I think that shows that that cannabis is not dangerous. It is not like lining up 10 shots, a row of 10 shots of tequila and getting to the 10th row and being called victorious before you fall out and pass out on the ground, which I used to do on a regular basis. So I'm talking about that from this. So that's what the future of cannabis is. It is going to be cannabis, weed athletes, and racing sports. And to that, I have created the Wars. Liberty of Weed is the Facebook group that I created and page. There's a Facebook group and a Facebook page called Liberty of Weed. There is also libertyofweed.com. And they are not really well manned right now because it's me and my ADD.
Yeah. Well,
nonetheless,
I'm
um,
sure you'll have
we
to-
are moving towards, which is my anthem or my mantra is the ubiquitous use of cannabis in its many forms for the betterment of community, environment, and freedom. And I think being able to have competitive races or competitions in the cannabis field is a good one. And I know that it is a good one because very fortunate and very happy to be part of the longest running cannabis event in the country, which is called the Colorado Invitational Bongathon. And that is where
Is
over
that?
30
Oh, yep.
competitors get
Hang on.
together and they smoke a quarter ounce
They dropped out. Let's
as
see.
fast as they can to determine who is the best in the country,
He comes
if not
back.
the world, at smoking weed. And are
I don't think you
if
can hear
you
us
ever
either.
think
No,
that there isn't an
can you hear me?
opportunity
Yeah, I
for
can hear you.
brand new,
Okay.
unique,
Let me take a
alternative
quick break. I just
recreational
gotta
thing,
take a couple
such as
seconds. Be right
smoking
back.
weed,
Okay.
then I would
All right.
like to turn you to the Colorado Invitational Bongathon and some of the participants there. And so um, after finding out about uh,
Yep. Now he
those
dropped.
things
There
and
he's back.
spending several seasons being a competitor, I wish I was competitive. My times vary over a minute. I can smoke a gram of weed in a minute, maybe 48 seconds. I think my lowest time is 42 seconds on a gram of weed. Now, that sounds like a fast gram of weed, and it is for most people, because you can go to a dispensary and get a gram joint and smoke on that for probably a couple of days and remain pretty high for that amount of time if you are a light smoker. And if you're a heavy smoker, you probably smoke that gram joint before you, if you pick it up in the afternoon, it's probably done before dinner at least, if you're not sharing with a friend. But these guys are smoking grams in as fast as 26 seconds.
That's crazy. So, man, are there like sponsors or like how do they like who's paying for all like this stuff? Do they win like
Well,
they actually want a bond, but do they win like money or how is that organized?
Well, in the organization that I created, which is the Liberty of Weed Athletes and Racing Sports, or LOWARS, then we are working a sponsorship program and we're putting together teams and we're definitely building a league of smokers. And we are always soliciting for more support in the smoking category and in that realm because it is a highly expensive sport. And if you think of NASCAR for weed, then you can almost parody that because and if you use the person as being the vehicle and the weed as being the gas, then it becomes kind of open to interpretation, but you can see all the possibilities and you can see how maybe weed companies that sell weed would probably want someone who smokes weed at such a level to represent their weed.
Right.
Okay. And also you can probably see an abundance of different products that come from eye drops to lip balm to, disinfectants to all kinds of different bong designs. And you can also, and one of the beautiful things that has come from being a competitive weed athlete is the fact that I have learned to smoke so many different types of weed at a level that I had never ever imagined possible. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that are weed connoisseurs. They look at the phenotype and they marvel at the amount of terpenes that are in there, and they look at the structure and and all of the other stuff, and they taste it, and they do all the things that good connoisseurs do. And
it's like a weed sommelier.
You're absolutely. There's pairings, and we've had all of those events where weed has been paired with delicious food. We have fabulous chefs in the industry that prepare absolutely wonderful entrees that are highly accented with some of the best cannabis flavorings out there, including hemp and all. So I have nothing like that. But if you really want to know what weed tastes like, talk to someone who smashes a gram of weed very quickly, because that is a concentrated form of flower.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even know something like that really existed. I can't imagine how that. I mean, obviously, I would think after a while you would kind of build up a tolerance and get kind of, I don't want to say used to it, but used to it as far as consuming that much cannabis in that short of time, and then just the after effects of that, I would be interested to see the long term ramifications, because I know obviously there is that level of safety to the cannabis as far as not being able to overdose, and I mean you would obviously pass out and fall asleep before you had the chance to consume enough to overdose. But it seems like these people who are on the speed track and racing could kind of dance with that a little bit, probably not as close as other things, but I would say they could get up there if they really tried.
No, and I'm gonna, because you already discounted that as an option, and I agree that the overdose complaint is. But what you did say that is very, very true is tolerance is and that's what makes great weed smokers. It's just like, strength makes for a good car racer, and ability to think things through makes for a good basketball player. There's all of those things that come into it, and here are the complexities. You get very fucking high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
See, and
you are one of my biggest problems is I like it so much that I forget that I'm racing. Right. Okay. And so I start to enjoy it, and I may not pull the snaps as fast as I should. Bound racing is one of those sports that I also see as being a great research opportunity for any one of the medical schools to take up to, be able to do research. Because, look, you have guys that are quickly ingesting a large quantity of cannabis, and you can test them, or people that are available. There's all kinds of data there. So I think that's going to work out really well in the short run and as well as the long
Yeah,
run.
I think that's actually makes a pretty good point as far as people, ready-made test subjects that they can just kind of look at, and observe over time, see what that kind of consumption does, or what kind of toll that might take. Because I mean, anything you do, I think, regardless of its relative safety, you do in mass quantities, or you do it like that much, is going to take some effect on your body. It can't not do something to your body, right? Anything that you do that just is outside of the norm for what the body is designed to function as. But whether it's good or bad is yet to be seen.
There we go.
So I just think that's kind of interesting.
Right. Okay, I apologize about that. They came back. All right, I'm back.
All right. They good now?
Yes. They came with quarters.
No. Gotta do something.
I remember.
So yes, anything that you do at a level beyond what is normal gives opportunity for people to do research. Also, on the activist side on that is that it also gives opportunity to prove to the opposition the fallacies, right? If there is truth that there is a such thing as overconsumption of cannabis, well, we have years of documented evidence, right? And we're creating more of where cannabis consumption at this rate. The best thing that happens is that pizza stores get major business, and all. So that being the case, if that is a consequence of overconsumption, then maybe you want to regulate pizza stores.
Right. maybe invest a little bit heavier into the infrastructure on pizza places, more delivery drivers and better ovens, who knows. But I think that's a good thing. I honestly think there's plenty of information or knowledge out there about, I guess, the effects of cannabis use. To be able to need more is, I think, was obviously overkill, but probably a necessary overkill, just because people can't really parse out like the what is the thing? I can't think of the word. Like just the finer points. So like it's hard for them to see that kind of stuff, like the intricacies of the information. Like it's all or nothing for a lot of people who are in opposition. So I think what we know is enough to be in favor of it and have it be like not in the status that it is. But I do think there's still more to learn about it, since there has not been as much actual research done on it as there could have been had like cannabis been legalized for a longer time.
I think might as well research on people who are willing to be researched on.
Yeah. Right. You got to sample.
One of the things that we forget is that there's willing subjects out here to do a lot of things, and that's not an unusual occurrence for people to sell their bodies into research situations, right? So I think that if you find a group of people who are willing to smoke a lot of weed fast for you to have some data points, use them.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be all kinds of tiers. You have like the heavy consumers, medium, light. They're all there ready to be available for those studies, whatever it may need. So you can kind of stack it up and see, where there are convergences or where there are divergences, or where it gets like really bad, or like where you can kind of maintain like an equilibrium with it. Just because even with, depending on how you ingest it too, obviously there are a whole lot of new ways and good ways to get that into your body, as opposed to a way of just firing up and smoking, because obviously that can take its just heat alone, and depending on what you use for source of combustion, can take its toll on your lungs too. So luckily they are a good thing that they are. It's not luck. It's a natural evolution of the culture, just to be able to find these different ways to consume. Mainly, a lot of it probably is bred from it being illegal and it having to be more covert means of consumption. But in that way, it has also, I think, made it, I guess, healthier to consume it and not as detrimental to the body's functioning.
Well, you're talking to an activist that you're gonna have to prove that ingestion of cannabis in any form is detrimental to the body's function. To me,
right?
Like smoke on the lungs, but I love it. So something I love over a little bit of harm on my lungs that I can't see currently. I don't know. I choose love.
I agree with you, and I think cigarette smokers, and I was a cigarette smoker for a long time, so I understand that. And I used to love smoking cigarettes, but I think one of the differences, and I always come out this as an activist, and I'm only going to look at the positive, so you guys understand where my bias is.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
But what I think is that in the beginning, tobacco was not bad for you. I don't think that the forefathers that brought people to the country, if you believe in that part, or people that planted tobacco and helped spawn a country, were ingesting something that was killing them. I think that the minute that people saw that they were ingesting something and they were living profitably and they were happy and they were go be lucky, some people that were ne'er-do-wells decided that that couldn't be, because people are actually enjoying this thing and we can't have that. And they started a campaign to make it bad.
All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break here from all the great topics we're covering, bring in another musical interlude. And this week, we're going to do another Elephants in Mud tune. We're going to bring you Time Leaves from their album Stairwell. It's one of my personal favorites, and I think you will like it a lot too. So enjoy.
Yeah, Rodney, tell us a little more about cannabis. Well, what do you think the future is for cannabis in America?
That's an interesting story because cannabis in America, we know right now as we speak, it's taking over. There are over 27 states, maybe 28 states right now that have cannabis on their law books in one form or another. And if you think along the terms of economics, it seems like that's past the tipping point to where the taxation of cannabis should begin throughout the country. Some of us are very, very concerned because they are looking at following the Colorado model. And if they were to follow the model that it was based upon Amendment 64 when it passed, which, to be honest with you, I did not vote for. And the reason I didn't vote for 64 was because I was afraid it was going to put a couple of people that I knew out of business for selling weed. Okay, because I knew some strippers. Okay, and these strippers were great. They were freaking hot, and they were selling a pound of weed a week each, and they were putting their kids through school, and the kids were going through private school and whatever. And that pound of weed, mixed with whatever else they were doing, was really helping them get by. And I thought that if they legalized or started taxing weed, not really legalized because weed's taxed, it's not really legal.
Right.
But if they started taxing weed, that they would put those strippers out of the weed business. And they always had the best weed because, well, they're strippers and they got to hang out with the people that had the best weed.
Right.
Funny how that happens. And but anyway, I didn't see the paradigm where they were strippers and they just went ahead and got and opened up their dispensary, and they were pretty successful at that. But it seems that after the amount of time that we've had with this taxation model in Colorado, that there are a lot more reasons for them to fill the industrial prison complex with a whole lot more federal charges than they had before it was taxed. And so the model for the United States, especially with a very conservative outlook for the next forever long, has to be one of education. It has to be one of communication, and it has to be one where we put the extremes against each other. I can see a very positive outlook for cannabis, actually, because in a form, it gives the pioneers like Larissa and Aquadas and Terry Rodney and Greg and all these great people that have been out there fighting for Veronica Carpio, all these people that have been fighting for cannabis for so long. It gives them an opportunity to take a break, and it gives people that are just now coming up in the understanding of cannabis a chance to take the lead in promoting the product itself. And we have the tools available to us. We have a lot of things available to us that can make us have a very strong impact on the positive nature of cannabis. And that's when that's my rosy glasses cover. My realistic viewpoint on cannabis is that it has a stigma attached that is being wiped away by hemp, and it is garnering even more problems with what some people call marijuana and other people just call weed or pot or whatever. Marijuana being a racial statement, but it's in all of the legislation, so you have to go with what the legislation says. So the differences between marijuana and hemp might become divergent, and I think that hemp might be seen as the good weed, and marijuana be seen as its naughty older cousin that only a few states like Colorado are brave enough to legalize, because you see what happens to those pot smokers over there. They do this, that, and the other. So the realistic view on that would be that they would tax it heavily and restrict its use heavily, because right now the government is highly in favor of a more sober lifestyle without using any real information that shows the benefits of weed. So they're going by historical data, which is all the potheads jump out of windows and then they put their feet up in the sky or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And when the real data is that you add cannabis into struggling communities and it has a way to turn it around. But it doesn't seem like the government is interested in turning communities around using weed. They would just rather use the mediums that they've used traditionally, which are money laundering, graft, and taxation to...
Yeah, which tells me I don't think they really want to turn them around.
Well, I mean, at one point in time, somebody's going to have to look at it for themselves and see if that is true. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's one foot in front of the other. I'm rolling the dice with it and just looking out.
So that was a long-winded answer to a pretty short question.
Well, so you see it legal federally?
Well, I see it taxed federally. No, see, this is one of the things that this is one of the differentials that I want to bring to the table is that there's a taxation schedule that they would like to put on everything that people like. And I mean, look at the taxes that you have right now on cannabis in Colorado.
Yeah.
So I see federally them wanting to retrieve the amount of revenue that they can out of it.
In order to do that, don't they have to legalize it?
Well, no. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think that they would find a way to, across the board, call it legal. I mean, and in Colorado, this is why I'm really changing my nomenclature when it comes to marijuana and when it comes to hemp, because if it was legal, then I could walk down the street without too much concern and not have to, and be smoking a joint and not have to worry about the ramifications of such. If it was legal, I wouldn't have friends that come in on vacation and stay on probation, if it was legal. Yeah. Right. So there's a lot of ramifications with legal. I mean, hemp is supposed to be legal, and yet, there are states still that are obstructing hemp shipments from one part of the coast to the other, claiming that they cannot differentiate the difference between hemp and marijuana.
Or CBD's being falsely, there's all kinds of claims that it is what it is, and some of it has THC in it going out to all the states, so it's really hard to lock that down unless they test every single thing that they send out. You know what I mean? Since it's such a gray area, but that's why they both need to be legal federally.
Well, see, and there's I'm a libertarian in nature and in spirit, and there's a point at which you kind of have to require the spirit of the people to really transcend the government. Okay, so right now the spirit of the people is towards less taxation on cannabis. They want more free access and less taxation. Okay.
I think I'm seeing what you're saying. Huh? I think I'm seeing what you're saying is that we don't want it to be legal because the way they're going to tax it is going to be a huge corrupt thing.
Right. And, one of the things that go around in my neck of the woods and with some of the conversations that I have is Al Capone was a prolific murderer, but the government didn't get Al Capone on murder. They got him on tax evasion. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what the government has a tendency to do is set up tax traps for things that they don't like. They set up tax traps for the distribution of things that they call contraband. And then they act on one hand as if the citizenry is given the opportunity to possess such item, but you're incapable of having that item if you don't have the proper documentation for it. If you're not registered, if this is not a medical license, if you don't haven't given your fingerprints over to the FBI, like I've had to do because I'm, registered to work with in the cannabis industry. And if you haven't done all of these things and we find you in contradiction to any of our taxation schedules when it comes to this substance at all, any of the contradictions. And those contradictions can be from a very local level to where a constable for an electric department comes into your yard and sees that you have more than 6 plants and reports you to an authority, all the way up to the federal level where they're circling your home with infrared light to see how much heat your house is emitting so that they can charge you for growing and everything. So,
plant that doesn't even fuck you up as much as alcohol.
All for some plant that has yet to be proven harmful. Now we know that alcohol is harmful, right? Absolutely. I mean, you do 3 shots of tequila, a couple of throwback, a couple of big cold brews, and you have the sports on the TV, you get all wound up. She looks good from across the bar. You feel good from across the bar. You guys get together and forget you're married. Happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Right? And that's because of alcohol.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about the ramifications of overuse of alcohol on the adolescent mind. And what they talk about with cannabis more so than anything is the use by adolescents of the substance. And they say that the use of cannabis, and actually it was Ben Carson, who is in the administration, said something along the lines that, yes, the use of cannabis changes the formation of an adolescent brain. And from that point on, a lot of the anti-cannabis crowd has quoted many other doctors who say the use of cannabis changes the formation of the adolescent brain. My contention is it for the worse? Because if your body has been deprived of endocannabinoids for ever since they've taken it all out of our food system,
since breast milk,
exactly, right, and they've removed. And remember that our grain-fed beef was the grain that they were feeding the beef was hemp seed and other stuff that provided nutrients for the endocannabinoid system in the body. And so if you are an adolescent and you start to use cannabis and you start to ingest the cannabinoids that react to the endocannabinoid system, and your brain starts to react to that and becomes larger and more enhanced because now you're thinking about things on levels that you hadn't thought about them before and blah, blah, blah. And your brain starts to change and it's a physiological change. Is it for the worse? Here's what my contention is. The youth that starts to use alcohol and does several shots and ends up going through a windshield because he doesn't know the difference between an accelerator and a brake and proper stopping distance, ends up changing the formation of his brain too.
Man, we've all had friends
quite dramatically,
very dramatically, and that is a serious physiological change that happens a whole lot more rapidly than if he would have just sat back and smoked a joint.
So there are even studies about it. Like, how would you even study that? Because it's not like you're getting permits to give kids cannabis and say, "Hey, let's see how this changes the brain." It seems kind of like it's maybe not the best researched summation of that.
I agree with you. How do you study that? Well, here are the answers. We have parents like Jamie Kropp. We have parents that created Charlotte's Web. We have other parents that have had children that required cannabis in order to sustain some livable manner. And without it, they were terrors, and with it, they were not. And so Jenna Hoke is another great example of a mother who fought the battle with cannabis. Amy Dawn Hildebrandt is another person. She's the one that came up with the 663,057 or something like that for the patent number that the United States government has on the cannabis plant. If it is as bad as they say it is, then these mothers and parents, we have Sebastian Cott, who he's a father who he did not, I don't know if he does now. He probably does smoke weed now, but when I met him, he did not smoke weed, but he took on the battle of cannabis because it helped his son. So we have all of these parents who are living the true facts that their children are benefiting from cannabis use. I don't know of very many parents who come and brag to their friends on how well their children are doing now that they've taken up drinking Budweiser.
Right. Right.
Just my dad.
Yeah.
But that's a different story.
My son has really become an apple of my eye from all his behavior problems from, doing that 3 shots of Jim Beam and a couple throwbacks of Pabst PBR before he goes to school.
That's my Tommy.
But, there are stories of kids who were challenged with ADHD and other attention problems and started using cannabis before they went to school and started having noticeable beneficial effects in class. And one of our very close friends, Stacy Lynn, who went to the Colorado legislature and got them to pass the law where nurses in school could administer cannabis as medicine to students so that they could have the benefit of an education. Those are the kinds of things that we have to bring to the forefront.
Absolutely. If I had that growing up, that would be a life changer, I believe.
I believe it would be for a lot of young people. And I think not including women in this, but since I'm a man, I'm going to talk about the things that I know, and that is young men. And I know that you would rather have a pack of young men who are interested in life than those who are not interested in life. And we know what wildness is in young men. It is a rebellion against the system. We want our young men to be more productive on a lot of different levels. Not everybody's going to be a G.I. Joe. Not everybody's going to be an Elon Musk. And not everybody's going to be the best plumber or the best door hanger or the best tile layer. But they are going to do something, and they might as well let them do it to where they feel the best doing what they do well. And I think a lot of people do better on cannabis than they do on many of the alternatives that are being issued to them by the medical societies out there right now.
Yeah, that's so true. Well put. Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. Growing up, I feel like, I think we talked about it once in the previous episode, but basically your mind's just racing so fast. And for me, cannabis helped it slow it down. So, in school, I would have been able to comprehend certain things that I wasn't able to because I was thinking about all these other things like home problems or this or that, and just not able to focus. But when I started smoking weed, it just changed my life. I never have gone back because I always knew it was the way for me. So, me and Andrew actually smoked together for the first time.
Nice.
When we were like, I don't know, 12 or 13. We're well veteran now at over 20.
You guys are past your first time already, really?
Quite a long time ago. There's been many joints smoked since then.
I love that. And what you described to me is what I think they try to portray alcohol as being. And that is being bonding between people. And I'm going to say bonding between men because I don't know about women. I tried to figure that out. And it's
I'm with you on that.
But I do understand that bonding between men is very, very special. And some of the very closest friends that I've ever made, I've made it either over some vice habit, right? I mean, at the time there was cocaine, and then there was alcohol, and then there was crack, and there was all of those things that were part of my lifestyle. That it seemed like if you found a friend that did the same thing that you did, you would, get together and you'd do that more, right?
Yeah.
When I quit doing crack and alcohol, and I actually quit smoking cigarettes, and I did it all at the same time, my friends were very, very happy with me. They appreciated that a lot because, when I was an alcoholic, I fell around and broke shit, and they were happy that I wasn't breaking shit anymore. So that was good. When I was a crackhead, I turn their shit into the pawn shop every now and then. And so now that I'm not a crackhead anymore, they don't have to go to the pawn shop and pick up their shit. So that's kind of cool.
Eliminate that whole process from their life. Yeah, pretty nice. I'm sure they appreciate it.
Exactly. How to win friends and influence people. And
I love that book.
Yeah, it is actually. It's one of the best books ever. Shut Up and Listen is the alternative title on that. But the thing that happened was I became goody two shoes. You can't help it, right? Look at all the things I've done. I've quit smoking, and I quit drinking, and I quit this, and I quit that, and I quit the other. And my friend said, "You quit being fun." Period. I mean, there's nothing good about you right now. You're a little bitch. You whine about this. You're always on edge on that, and you have this going on, you have that going on, and you quit being fun. And so one of my best friends at the time, he sat me down, and I was sitting on the back porch, and everybody was inside. And this, you have to understand that it was within the period of adjustment time, and so I hadn't really gone the whole 6 months of being sober. But he handed me a joint, and he says, "Rodney, I realize the work that you're putting in, and it's really, really cool. But if you don't smoke this, we can't be friends." And he wasn't doing that to try to be mean at all. He really wasn't.
No, I get it.
He was doing that totally out of love because I had become such the aggravating bitch, And when I become an aggravating bitch, dude, it's a hard one to wear off. Because I'm really good.
I get it. I get them too.
It'd be like one of those Snickers commercials. Where you're not the same when you're sober.
Exactly.
Here, have a joint.
Yes, have a joint.
That's definitely. I had to quit for 2 years, and when I started back up, I was like, I'm gonna smoke like an ounce, and I smoked like a half a bowl, and I was.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Fine. Yeah, dude, I couldn't smoke that much, but my tolerance has changed since then. But I
congratulations
smoke like that much. I try to. I'm not. It's not a race for me.
Not yet, but wait until we're finished talking.
Well, I mean, I would have a race just for fun, but every day, it's just a tool for me and a medication more. And one of the main things it helps me with is the inflammation and just being able to stretch and just feeling your body. And to me, that's like a huge benefit to healing naturally.
Well, imagine being someone like Dean Terrell, who has multiple complications where his body is literally transforming itself into one bone. It is coming together around his spine. His rib cages are collapsing. His discs are slipping. His cartilages are deteriorating. He has blood pathogens that are creating complexes for his system from years of things, and what he has become is an herbologist and a very well respected cannabis herbologist. So he has used cannabis to continue to live, literally. Okay. And to be able to have a quality of life that he and his wife are out putting together acres of land so that they can create a place where other people that have serious difficulties in life can come and enjoy cannabis so that they can have a different quality of life. Once again, I look at examples like that in the cannabis industry and around people with cannabis, and I compare that to a Wall Street broker who goes home and drinks a bottle of scotch every night because he cannot stand himself, what he is doing, how he is doing things, and he destroys his liver and his body because of his guilt and whatever. I don't see that with cannabis. I just don't. Yeah. And so those are differences that you can bring to the table when, still answering the same question, I guess. What do you see in the future? Yeah. I see people like that coming up to the forefront and asking serious questions. If you're going to say that alcohol is good at 21, and we have national statistics and worldwide statistics that say what kind of a killer it is, can we please compare that to the weed that you are saying we cannot transport across state lines? Just show me where it's done similar damage, and I will agree with you.
I mean, you heard of the green rush, right? I think, honestly, like cannabis should be the next currency. That should be back in the next currency.
I like the way you think. I really do. I really love the way you think. Because I think
we got the Federal Reserve in shambles pretty much. And, we could definitely make a whole cryptocurrency out of weed.
Well, who I'm backing right now is Roger Ver. Backing his sentiment behind Bitcoin Cash, and the reason why is it's a currency that already incorporates all the privacy stuff that Bitcoin uses as adjuncts to its coin, and so Bitcoin Cash already has a lot of those concepts involved in it. Plus, with its new SLP, Simple Ledger Protocol, you can create coins on that Bitcoin Cash platform that resemble the ERC20 coins that you can create on the Ethereum platform. And so that is one of the reasons why I'm kind of really thinking about, global stuff, doing it with Bitcoin Cash.
So go back just a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so some of the things I didn't understand of what you were saying.
Okay.
But, just explain. Would you explain cryptocurrency to me? And
sure.
And the type that you were talking about, you were backing. Is that not Bitcoin?
Yes, in a sense. Okay, so cryptocurrency. Let me do it like this. Cryptocurrency is a byproduct of a process, and that process is incorporated in information, bits of data, and that bits of data are contained in a data block. And so you have blocks of data that are held on the internet, and they are interlinked. And for that block of data to make any sense, someone has to exert some type of effort to change that data into a readable form. And so blockchain and blockchain mining go hand in hand. And so the data is on a chain in a block, and blockchain mining is the process that data goes through to be turned into readable form. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, for blockchain mining, a certain amount of energy goes into that, and they calculate that energy into value, and therefore the results of the mining their reward for turning that data into readable form is in the form of an encrypted token. And that token has been given an inconspicuous name of Bitcoin. And in some instance, and so that Bitcoin token is a proof of the amount of work that went in, or proof of stake, no, proof of work. It is a proof of work concept that went in to changing that block of data into readable form. Okay? So that token is that proof of work. And that token develops a value because the people that are reading the information have that information on a ledger that is never going to change. And since it is not one single computer that reads all, or it's not one single processor for that data, since that process is distributed over several different nodes that are ran by several different people, it is called a distributed node network. All right. So it is decentralized. No one central focus can create a change in that ledger. And so that means it is that ledger cannot change. All right. And so that token not only represents the amount of work that went in to create that readable data, that token also creates the data set that is no longer changing on that ledger. So that's what Bitcoin has, and that's what it has is an immutable ledger. So you can go back to the beginning of Bitcoin and see what the very first transaction is, and you can go to the end of Bitcoin and see what the very last transaction is. And nothing along that has changed.
What is the data on each?
So the data could be a lot of things. And the data could be leases. It could be anything that can be monetized over the internet. It could be player characters. Matter of fact, Bitcoin was used as an exchange medium for doing additions in Second Life at first. And so when your first miners were out there, they were creating Bitcoin tokens for, I think it was 25 cents, and they were doing it on ASIC cards, and it was way easy, and they were exchanging them for different dresses and shit in Second Life and whatever. Okay. But the difference is that it maintained its value because people actually wanted to keep it. It was fungible. It was transportable. You just have it on your telephone or whatever device. It was easy to exchange because you could just flash your telephone at each other over your monitors and exchange Bitcoin back and forth. And so it created a kind of a unique little techie monetary system that was held on the dark web for a long time.
Wow.
Fair enough. Along comes a guy on May 22nd. He exchanges 2 large pieces for Bitcoin. I think it was 20 Bitcoin or something like that. What that did is it gave Bitcoin a real world value. Okay. Now you can say at least X amount of Bitcoin is worth 2 large pizzas. Okay. And 2 large pizzas are worth $20. So X amount of Bitcoin is worth $20. Okay. You see how that works?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. And so that gives it real world value. And then people started using it for real world things, such as drugs and other things on the dark net, and such as real estate transactions, etc., on the up and up net, because once again, it's transactable over the internet and over the monitors that you're talking to each other on. So you don't even have to be within range of each other. As long as your phone can read the QR code or whatever, then that Bitcoin is transactable, which you can see as being a real help if you're trying to exchange value out of China right now, right? So you have, the Great Firewall of China keeps a lot of people in, but one of the things that they can do is exchange Bitcoin, because Bitcoin can be transacted visually as well as over a hard line or anything. So you can see automatically that Bitcoin carries some, or let's say that cryptocurrency carries some physical advantages to cash or fiat currency. Let's say that if you are a credit card company and you have seen that there are several large transactions going on, you get a little curious, and so you just cut that guy's transactions off until he comes and tells you what he's doing, right? Not that you know that he's doing anything wrong, not that you know that he is doing something nefarious, but because you were curious and it is not within his normal parameters of operation, you just decide to cut off his credit card because you are the credit card company, and that's what the government is giving you the opportunity to do, and so you do it. Okay, fair enough. You can't do that in Bitcoin. In the true Bitcoin, you can't do that. And it's because it is a peer-to-peer transactional system that goes between person to person. And so there is no fiduciary responsibility that a credit card company would have in order to be able to stop you from transacting with another person. That puts fear into the authoritarians, because if you can not control what people are buying and selling, then you cannot control people.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have Bitcoin right now, but it's through a third party, so that wouldn't be the same, right? Because that third party could just shut it down.
Right. If your Bitcoin is on an exchange, then you have the exchange as your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why you buy a Trezor wallet or some other hardware wallet that are out there, and you put your Bitcoin in your wallet on your phone, on your keypad. But one of the beautiful things about Bitcoin that a lot of people don't talk about is this. It's one of my personal jewels with cryptocurrency, and not just Bitcoin. And well, let me say, when I say Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and all these things, I want you guys to just think that I'm combining everything together, because otherwise we'll get into the particulars of the Litecoin, and we'll get into the particular of Doge and all of these other fantastic privacy models for exchanging value, and we'll get off track. So if I say Bitcoin, I'm actually talking Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Ripple. I'm talking all of them right now in general. Okay. All right. So what the beautiful thing about this Bitcoin Cash protocol and such as is that I believe that bullets attract bullets, and I believe that gold attracts bullets, and I believe that the more gold you have, the more bullets you attract, and the more bullets you have, the more bullets you attract, right? And people that think that you have value are going to come after that value, and they're going to come after that value in a variety of ways. And they're going to try to crack your safe open. They're going to try to crack your code on your computer. They're going to try to torture you and hurt you and make you feel like you should give them some parts of your value, whatever that might be. Fair enough.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin protocol allows for you to have a brain wallet, and this is just you memorizing your particular hash, right? And so if you have a brain wallet, all of a sudden, and people know that you keep most of your Bitcoin on a wallet that you have memorized, and that you have promises that on your deathbed, if you got killed by something, no one gets nothing, right? All of a sudden, they're looking to keep you alive, right? You'd be like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You'd be like, that'd be juicing. You know, they had to juice that bitch up with something that would make an elephant run a marathon for real. I mean, for years. Okay. Right. They would try to, as long as you have that code memorized and you can spit in a straight direction, they would want to keep you alive, right? Because you have value in your brain. And I think that is one of the biggest safety protocols that Bitcoin offers, is because even if someone takes everything from you, if you have a bit of value that you can access globally just because you have a code memorized, that changes the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree whatsoever. What if all the computers shut down?
Okay. So do you still have electricity? And is there someone that can write a code? Is there someone that could publish in Hello World?
I think Andrew can.
Okay. Okay. Because for one, the catastrophic event that takes place where all the computers fall down, you don't want to be alive anyway.
I hear you there. Throwing flames at us.
I had one guy. We went through scenarios. End of world scenarios, and I think my end of world scenario is directly. We got really close. Not really, but we got. I'm thinking that if there is no money and there is no electricity and the only thing I'm good. I'm ready to go by then because I want motorhomes, I want boats, I want motorcycles. I like going visiting the mountain lodges, and I like doing things with other people and so on and so forth. And if it got to the point where where that availability ceases, and you make me have to bring out my best John Wayne, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. I would. I like that stuff though.
You think because you can go home. I look at Bear Grylls. I look at him, right?
Yeah.
And I see what they gone through, and I look at Jacko. I see Jacko, he gets up at 4:30 every morning, and Bear goes and eats dead things out of the ground and climbs mountains to do it. And I watch these environmentalists and survivalists. No, thank you. I'm good. I go camping at the Holiday Inn, bro.
Right.
But in those times, I wouldn't just let you fall to the wayside while I shoot maybe an elk for food. I would share it, so we all have our strengths. It doesn't mean you would just all of a sudden wither away. Like you have strengths in other things, so that's why we come together. What do you think about that?
So that's strange. It's interesting because I've been watching The Walking Dead, going through that series, and it's kind of the same thing. Like it's just a complete breakdown of society.
Right.
Obviously it's a different catalyst there, a different scenario, but it's still everything
I hate
that
zombies
everybody
too.
knew.
I hate zombies.
I love them. I think it's an interesting concept, but there's nobody. Everything everybody ever knew has just disappeared, and now people are suddenly back to kind of that square one, that primordial, or that existence where you can't rely on technology and you're not connected to everybody, and then people have to start fending for themselves, and then suddenly the human condition begins to deteriorate because there's society is breaking down. There are no laws. Once those laws break down, and then that social contract gets just ripped up and burned.
Similar to Eli, even.
Here,
right? Because I guess my point is, you don't really know too much how you're going to react to that situation until you're into it, because suddenly you're faced with things that you have to do to survive if you want to keep living with the people who you love, if you are able to survive with them.
So I see what you're saying. I feel like you prepare every day for that. So all my life, if that is what my destiny is, then I'm preparing for that every day, whether I know it or not. So I feel we prepare for the unknown.
Okay, and see the world that I want to have people prepare for is a greener, more hospitable, a lot more available type world, accessible for people that have, limbs and things that are missing, or maybe might be. I'm looking for a world where technology advancements keep us from turning into fucking zombies. I hate zombies. I think zombies are bad because they don't look like they taste good. And I don't.
Hope for the green,
right.
Right.
Well, and not only that, but what I am really looking forward to, because therefore I think we are actually living in the post-apocalypse. Because if you think about all of the things that have happened and the hundreds of thousands of people that got killed in Indonesia with the floods and everything in there. We look at the tens of thousands of people that got killed in America with the fentanyl problem. And you look at the millions of people that have been killed in the wars over the past 20 years in the Middle East, and we look at all of the results of the pollution in the world, in the oceans and in the parks and in the public places, and we can't even seem to be able to flush our shit without causing someone some problems. And we got to the point where it crescendoed, and I think that it with the release of this latest iteration of disease on us, that a lot of people were able to go and contemplate what life meant, right? And does life mean 9 to 5 in a carpeted cubicle, calling Jane Doe to see if she needs a pots and pans set, right? Is that what life consists of, or should I get out with my 16-year-old son and take a walk around the park and show him what marigolds are good for and bees sting and things like that, because those are important life lessons that he's going to learn outside instead of having a 6-year-old learn Call of Duty on television. So I think that there are life-changing things that have happened because of the bad things that have happened in the last 50 years. We have gone through a hell of a hell, and in the Irish community, the African community, and all have watched their tried and proven thoughts be turned upside down and made irrelevant. And we see that in the homeless communities. In San Francisco.
We're losing them.
The people are shattered because of catastrophic separation. They got separated from whatever they knew to be true. And now their lives are different, and they are willing to divest themselves of any material objects that would tie them to this system. They would rather be, like you said, on the cutting edge of despotism, basically. How can we live off the streets and off the graves of others, than really invest in becoming productive again? Because when they were productive, it hurt so bad when it got taken away from no fault of their own.
Yeah, I just felt like when the whole Corona thing hit, it just reiterated how important it is to be self-sustainable. And so,
well, you would say that, but a lot of those business owners and people that died they are self-sustainable. They pay their taxes, they have food, they had enough until the horde came. And then the horde came, and there was, this goes kind of back to my cryptocurrency analogy. If you have a brain wallet, because if the horde comes, everything that you were hoarding becomes their hordes. Right?
Totally. Yeah.
And we see that that's what happened to Target. We see that happen to Walmart. When the horde came to come to get them, and there was no protection. We saw business owners get hurt.
Totally, you're right. I see it more as like you need to teach yourself skills, and the person with more skills is going to win at the end.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Or survive the longest.
The horde overtook the most skilled of the skillful players. And the horde took over Congress. The horde took over state government and local state governments and local governments and federal government. The horde took over the streets. The horde took over the laws. The horde released criminals back out on the street and arrested law-abiding citizens for things they did not see.
Yeah, well, man, you know a lot about the crypto. I mean, I didn't know half of that. And just explaining the coin more, I've just heard about these miners that people get paid to create these somehow. Sounds really cool. And I do think it's part of the future. I do think the United States is trying to create their own cryptocurrency. And to me, it's like, why would we invest in the U.S. cryptocurrency when there's already one that's world global, and we actually can trust it more than any one entity or an country or another. So I see it. I see a global currency as the future for sure.
Warren Buffett disagrees with you.
Well, he's not very smart, and
He's not a very smart guy at all. He's
I have more
not
money.
what he's talking about and doing it though.
That's just my opinion.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. A lot of people don't realize, but their money is already digital. I mean, you get the bank tells your employer how much to pay you, and that gets transferred to a card or into an account, and that account, populates your credit cards, and you use it to pay your bills.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it dollars and change? No, it's all ones and zeros.
Ones and zeros. Yep.
Some people still do it, but for the most part, absolutely.
Yep. I went a long time without ever even touching, paper money or even coins. You don't have to.
For sure.
Llewellyn Rockwell, he said, use cash because it gives the government something to do.
What do they have to do because of cash? I don't.
Because you have to move it. And this is what we talk about with cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is very transportable. You can have a lot of wealth on your telephone, right? But if you are always using cash, you have to move cash, and the government has to pay someone to pick it up and put it somewhere, burn it, stretch it, print it, whatever. There's somebody that's doing something with your tax dollars other than just sitting behind the keyboard pushing a button.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. They have to move it, store it. It gives, then they're probably charge, they'll say they're paying double whatever they're paying, put half of that in their pocket, and be on their way, right? Isn't that how it works?
Right. Well, I mean, the people that are in charge are our biggest thieves, and they can because they write the rules by which they can steal from us. So, they win. And if you listen to people who have an attention-getting message, such as Ron Paul, or you listen to Julian Assange, or you tune into BitChute, and you like to look at the best gore videos where people are getting their heads chopped off and shit like that, then you want to reward those people for their information or their entertainment, but the zeitgeist of the technology companies don't want you to, so they won't let Ron Paul accept your money over Google, for instance, or they'll cut down a site, where you would like to, give somebody else some money because they entertain you. With cryptocurrency, that becomes less of an option. They have less control. So that's what makes it better.
I see. Our second episode was called just out of the blue. It kind of came up with our friend Jared, but it's called Bitcoin and Beaver Skins. And I think, I think we're going back to that. We really do need Bitcoin and Beaver Skins.
Well, I'm going to be positive. I really like to consider marrying two antithetical concepts together, kind of like alchemy. But what I would like to do is marry cannabis and space research together, because they've already found THC in space.
What about mushrooms? I mean, the spores can last space.
Well,
What
yes,
do you want to marry them for? I guess I don't understand.
technology research, health
Okay.
research, transportation, um, opening up. See, my personal code is for the ubiquitous use of cannabis in its many forms for the betterment of community, environment, and freedom. And you can use cannabis for everything from paint thinner to dietary aids to make you thinner. And so, if that is the case, then you can transport cannabis around the world to solve a variety of different problems, from deteriorating soils to lack of resources to creating grain harvest for for cattle, and for putting into places where people are wanting to explore arable lands, etc.
Nice.
And the space concept comes from being able to transport cannabis because of the lies that have been told and propagated on the people for so many years. The governments have taken it upon themselves to make it very, very, very hard for people who enjoy cannabis to move it from one place to another. Well, if you incorporate space, then you're not invading anybody's air. So if for some odd reason a canister of cannabis should go up in smoke, they can't say that you got the whole entire population on like space. Right?
Are you talking about Jetson vehicles that you hotbox in space?
Let's hotbox with the Jetsons in space.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I think this one should be called that, hotboxing with the Jets.
Hell yeah. I am so
yeah, man. Yeah,
but I think space solves the problem of surface transport, piracy, etc. I think space solves the problem of research and development for medical, and because you have instantaneous almost results from one place to another. If you can do it in space, you can do it super fast, right? So things that come from one part of the country to the other part of the country in space can get there faster than if they were on an airplane. So that shortens the amount of time that you can have responses. And I think that space, also the technology in space, also lends itself to some of the people in space, because cannabis in space lends itself to helping some of the people in space. When I was in the university, we had talked about, because I have this thing for access and mobility, and one of the things that is the biggest problem in space are arms and legs, because there are weightless, and those are just things that are just flopping around in front of and behind you. Okay, so if you have space astronauts out there who are from the war, and these guys are still very healthy, but maybe they're missing a forearm, maybe they're missing half of their legs, maybe they're missing some of the parts of their body, but they're still very active people. You can now put them in space, which is less weight to transport up into space, which is saving millions and millions and millions of dollars. Every pound costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in space. But if you put amputees and different people up in space and use technology to augment what their limbs can do, I know that you're talking some Kurzweilian type stuff where you're marrying computers and you're marrying other things to people's limbs. But just imagine a quadriplegic in space that has these Borg-like features on their legs and all, that are able to use their mind to run a spaceship, because now they are married to the spaceship. You have just increased their usefulness and their capacity versus what they could have done on Earth. And so, I think that there's room for space exploration for mechanically assisted people. And if they need pain relief, you can't really be firing up things in space because you don't want fire. So you can use, edibles and all kinds of things that are derivatives of agricultural medicine up in space. And so there's a lot of reasons why we should consider studying cannabis and space together. Not only the physiological effects, but if you were just talking about the scientific discoveries that can happen with graphene and electrolysis and all those things that come from marrying the cannabis plant to different circumstances with minerals and all. And now you're talking about very high-tech materials and fibers that are used to transmit electrical impulses. And that means now you have these very high-tech fibers that are biodegradable, because they are originated from organic material. And so you have these very great applications that you can throw away and not worry about hurting the earth. And so those are community and environmental concerns that people can take into themselves. And if you're teaching children who are from underprivileged or hyperly taken advantage of, such as the children in Haiti and the other children where they've been taken advantage of for so long, and you give them a plant that they can use that has all of these different attributes where they can engage their culture and they can engage themselves, and then they can engage modern technology, and in the future they can engage exploration just because of a plant, then you can see the availability of marrying together space and cannabis. Was that salesy enough?
Yeah. I really like the idea. It sounds amazing. Like taking away gravity can help people move, because they don't need to walk like they used to.
Right.
I think it's amazing, and that probably will be somewhere down the line if we don't have like robots here walking for us and things like that, like a robot leg, a robot arm. But
that is exactly the issue. But let's say that prosthetic now has 75 terawatts of information that it can compute to the running of a space module. Let's say that prosthetic arm now has X amounts of terawatts of information that it can compile and be used with the mind and the emotions of an astronaut. Now you're marrying equipment to the human brain and adding emotion. And those are things that create worlds, I think.
Well, that's like the Neuralink that's coming out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And so I think I was going like where, I do massage therapy, and the way I look at the body is we can heal everything. So besides like a car accident or something traumatic, we shouldn't be getting these surgeries. Now I understand certain infections happen where you have to get amputated and those type of things. But I have a great vision, similar to how great your vision is with cannabis and space, just of healing naturally on Earth. And there's a lot of people that talk about this, but for me, it's like, it's really what I live and what I think about constantly is how we can unwind the tissue and find the natural ability within itself rather than trying to cut this and cut that and remove this or add that. I really believe we were born with every single thing we need to kind of heal ourselves in the way where our body can function at 100%. But that's kind of off on a different realm.
No. That's actually right on target, because I think that we're, if you're talking about the body healing itself, but really what we're talking about is the body using the things that the earth gives, and so that it can live and thrive, right? If it gives you proper medicine that you use from the earth that cures a headache so that you are not grouchy and grumpy and that you can love and create, then you use that herb, or you use what the earth gave you to do that. You don't necessarily need to have that high-powered opiate to inject it into your spinal cord so that you can blah, 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 because you're right. The earth has provided most of that stuff for us, and we see it in the cannabis industry all the time, where people are helping themselves with herbs.
Cannabis is so great for the body. Like, let me tell you, just from my experience myself, with muscles and that type of thing, it just helps the inflammation go down so much. And that's part of what all these problems are, is just inflammation and misdiagnosis of this or that, and you need to be cut for this, you need surgery for this. And it's like, no, you need to remove the stimulus, and maybe we can figure out or put it in the right spot. If your car is not in alignment, it's not going to run right. and
Right.
you're going to hear it clicking. And that's kind of what your body is telling you when it's clicking here or there, or when it hurts. Pain it's just telling you something's wrong. And you mentioned like different drugs and stuff like that, and I've experienced opiates back in the day, and that really made me just cancel that pain thought, but it didn't really make me work with it. And when I started learning about opiates a little more, I realized that opiates, they cut off the blood flow, which is because they cut off oxygen.
Yes.
And that's what creates knots and pain and trigger points. So if you're taking these pills for knots and pain and trigger points, then you're only creating more pain. There's no signal connecting it. You're only creating more problem. There's just no signal connecting it.
Right.
So I believe removing those problems, taking away the inflammation, putting the body in the correct posture and position can really change lives. And a lot of people say this, like I said, but I believe it wholeheartedly that that's where we're at. And we're learning a bit more about nutrition, and those type of natural things. But marrying cannabis and that type of healing is I believe, definitely a future too. And you can already see it being used quite a lot.
Well, and so let's go ahead and put the A/B comparison on the people that do not like cannabis and are listening to your podcast, and make them judge for themselves where their loyalties and their reasoning lies. Here, we're talking about a substance that a lot of people on that side of the equation consider to be damaging. They consider it to damage mind, body, and spirit. But everything that we have talked about, even in the slightest, has been uplifting to the human culture, basically, right? We've talked about medicine, like you said, and using cannabis to increase blood flow and oxygen in the muscles so that they can respond to massage is huge. That is not a small thing to think about. However, we don't think about our children taking up a habit, a long-term habit of tequila consumption, along with a little bit of heroin every other day, so that they can live a better life. It just that doesn't seem right. Yeah, and so if you're going to compare those things together, let's do some real A/B consumption, A/B comparison. Here we're talking about a plant that we're even hypothetically putting out into space to help paraplegics and quadriplegics, etc., enjoy a job on a space station in our imaginations, because we can do that when we're high. Try doing that when you're drunk and making sense.
Right.
Because when you get to that point in your imagination after drinking, you just don't make any sense.
Or you don't remember it.
There is the other part. We're going to remember this conversation, and I'm not having this conversation sober, my friend.
Me too.
Right.
Too.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew and I have been smoking since we've been little lads, and I'm sure you have too.
Right.
And quite a lot of people I know. And
it's like a funny though if you like spend that on like the opposite, like sending people up to space with 6 packs of Budweiser. It's like, hey, go see what you can do. See what you can get together and study out there.
We'll use the Russian model. Here's a couple of quarts of vodka.
Yeah,
that would be more like MK Ultra, like trying to control them.
Yeah. Well, I think you are absolutely using that as a description is absolutely correct. They use alcohol as a mind control substance, and they have deceived the population that the hippies were right. Yes, you can use sweet potatoes to lower your blood pressure. And yes, you can use cannabis to lower your to lower your blood pressure too. Those are things that you can do. Well, I think some people say when they get high that their blood pressure goes up, and
make a medical claim right now because it's not legal. So these are all just like hypothetical. It could, and that's part of the problem is we can't definitively tell people like this has been proven to help, but we have to like sneak it in under the door and be like, well, try it if you want. It's really need it like in a doctor's prescription pad. We need that.
It's not that we can't prove it to them. It's whether or not they're going to believe it when you show them the proof.
Like Andrew. The first doctor I went to, because I moved to Colorado and I was like, okay, I'm going to get my weed license, right? And I did. But the first one I went to, they laughed at me. I thought you just go to any other ordinary doctor. So I just went to a doctor and scheduled an appointment and told them what was going on. And then I told them I need weed, and she just laughed at me. And I was like stunned. I couldn't believe that this person was denouncing it that hard. And I bet she's not even working anymore because she wasn't very smart. And that's kind of sad that someone that dropped out of high school is smarter than her.
Smart people. Wow. Smart people are the same people that buy cars that they always have to work on, and they call them legends, They call them classics, right? What happened to your classic car? Oh, it's in my garage. I have the wheel off and the transmission's in the shop, and I'm waiting for a new trunk, and the interior is going to be...
One day it will be running.
One day it's going to be, well, man, yeah, and I've only spent, it's a 1910 this, 1920 that, and I've only spent $100,000 on getting this thing together. But, man, when it's ready, it's really going to be ready. Those are smart people, because they are engaged in all that brain activity. Okay, well, I'm going to be a dummy. I'm just going to be a dummy, dude. I'm going to do the things that people have done to be successful in the past. And I'm going to try to apply that to some of my future options. And I'm going to try to do the best that I can. And I'm going to do it high.
There you go. There it is.
Absolutely. That's, yeah, I mean, just by that first doctor, though, imagine someone else that hasn't smoked all their life and just wants to ask their doctor about cannabis and they can't because the doctor just laughs at them. And imagine if that was my first experience with it rather than smoking it in the middle of trees in a foil bowl, until I couldn't walk and we turned into, Wizard of Oz road. And it was the greatest day life, one of the greatest days of my life, walking around with Andrew and feeling the body in a way that I'd never felt. Like everybody says, like the legs get numb or whatever, and that was true. Like your legs feel heavy, so to speak, and I think that was just the body like realizing itself for the once in its life, and I was depriving it of that. And I think the body does need to feel. The opposite of what opiates do is not make you feel. Well, they also don't make you feel emotions. And that's a major problem when you're dealing with life.
Yes. Yes. It hides the emotion, and then it creates the cover by which that hidden emotion, when it explodes into stupidity, which hidden emotion has a tendency to do, right? You say, oh, it was because I was drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was my pills.
Yeah, it was because I was this. It was because I was that. But if somebody said, man, this is what makes those arguments when you hear them on TV. Oh, they smoked some weed and they jumped off of the top of a building. And everybody goes, mm-hmm.
You don't see the ducks lining up for the elevator.
Right. They say, how did he find the top of the building? Because he smoked some weed. Where did he smoke it at? Oh, he was already on the top of the building? Okay, and you're telling me that after smoking some good weed, he had the gumption to get up and do something. All right.
I love
Yeah.
Bill Hicks on that one, man. You've heard
So-
that?
Yeah, Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
But yes,
I love that. I love what you're talking about. Like, it's the person, not the substance, for the most part. And the people around you, if you have people around you that actually care about you, they're not going to let you do substances that, like you said, the people around you kind of got sick of you doing crack, that they let you know. But at least they cared enough to let you know.
Well,
Some
they were
people
doing it
out
too.
there that don't. Huh?
They were doing it too.
They were so how did you get away?
Huh?
I'm sure that's a whole nother podcast. But if they were doing it too, you just one day you were just fed up and you needed to change.
No, man. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't quitting. It was making it through. A lot of people haven't made it through, and there's a process that you go through. And, a lot of people would like to believe that there's 12 steps to sobriety. There's one step. And that's just getting through where you are at to get to the next step.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, I understand relapse. I've never relapsed once I made the decision, and I'm not bragging. It's because I'm scared. I'm afraid. I don't want to be that. I am so afraid of being the person that I was that it keeps me from going back to the things that I did. That's basically how it works. However, sobriety sucks. Sobriety sucks because sobriety means that all of the hits in the eye you have to absorb. It means that all of the bounces off the concrete you need to accept. It means that all of the wrongs that you have committed, you cannot hide behind a mask of any kind of addiction or whatever. Sobriety is really, really, really hard. And especially if you have sense or common sense and you know what you were doing or how you were acting didn't reflect well on you and didn't reflect well on others. When you become sober, it really, really becomes apparent,
I think sobriety is beautiful, but becoming sober is one of the hardest things anyone can go through.
Absolutely.
And it could kill you.
Yes.
So it's not fun. I've dealt with opiates before. That's one of the hardest ones in the world. I heard alcohol is even harder.
See, there's like another thing, like, if you are an alcoholic, you can't just quit drinking. Like, depending on how much you've been drinking, like if you were just to quit cold, like just not do anything, like go down to zero, you would die.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this. My buddy and I, my last drinks, I'm gonna I'm gonna kind of go against your statement here a little bit because our job was to get as fucked up as we could and go to jail and get sober, and we were going to stay sober. Okay. And so for 1 week before we turned ourselves into jail, we got fucked up. And I'm not talking about a little bit of drunk, bro. We got way hammered. And then on the final leg of that competition, we went to Sterling where he had to turn himself in and I had to turn myself in Denver. So we went up to Sterling, and on the way up to Sterling, while we were in Sterling, we picked up a waitress, a couple of grams, a few 12-packs, and a couple of bottles of Seagrams and a couple of bottles of 7-Up. Big bottles, handles, nothing without a handle.
Damn.
Okay?
Yeah.
And in 2 days, we drank all of that and had fun with the waitresses and all. And then when I turned them into the Sterling wherever, and we were still walking. You have to understand, we're walking. This is kind of normal for us. It wasn't abnormal for us to drink that much on a regular basis, but we were just doing the big blowout because we were going to get sober. But when I turned him into the Sterling police, they had to put him into detox for 3 days before he could even do his sentence.
Wow.
That's how,
Yeah, it ain't fun.
Right. And when I made it down to Denver, and so after that that detox in his 6-month sentence, he didn't die, but he went in blowing, well over 1.0. Well,
and let me tell you, they do. I've been to the Denver jail before, and they definitely ask you, especially for alcohol related stuff, that if you're an alcoholic, because they want to make sure that they give you the right medicine to not kill you.
Right.
And fortunately, I didn't have that problem. But yeah, it would be terrible to be going through.
You go through all of it, and let me say, he didn't stay sober. And to this day, it has cost him dearly. I stayed sober, and I've gone through a lot of rough patches, but here I stand. And so the difference, because sobriety is hard for people who are used to having something to hold up as a shield other than their own integrity. Sobriety is tough.
And that's what I'm saying, though. Once you get rid of all those walls and all those fake stuff, and you're just expressing the real you, then sobriety is the best thing, because you can be yourself sober, and it's really amazing. And you're finding more about yourself every time. We drink because we're pissed off at someone else, we're pissed off at ourselves, but when we're sober, we have to go through these emotions and learn how to deal with it. So I feel the strongest people are the people that can get sober and learn how to do that.
I agree.
Yeah, and weed is not even a drug to me, so I would never consider.
Yeah, it's hard for me to even think of weed as a sobriety thing. Right. I'm either high or I'm not high.
Well, I grew up with my grandpa basically calling weed like wacky tobacco.
Yeah.
And he just didn't know. He was an alcoholic one time. They were bricklayers together. This guy was drunk and high, and he fell off whatever and hurt himself. And ever since then, my grandpa thought it was the weed, not the alcohol. So it kind of closes your point that you were talking about earlier about alcohol versus weed. It's like you don't think the alcohol has something to do with it? Just a little bit, like it's the wacky tobacco. Okay. So I had these conversations with my grandpa, even though, it's hard to have those conversations with people that are born in the 30s.
Right.
But we had it out. It wasn't a fight. I just told him, this is what I like. This is why I like it. I'm not out there getting hammered. I'm not out there sticking a needle in my arm. I'm doing what feels good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's passed now, but he never gave me shit after that. And my grandma
really respected you for that.
Probably so. And my grandma knows too, and she don't like it. She's expressed that, but I'm not jumping off out of buildings on the 5th floor. I'm not killing my family with an axe. All I'm doing is actually sharing it and saying, hey, let's listen to some Bob Marley. Let's listen to some this and that.
And smashing a can of Pringles.
Yeah, smash on a can. Yeah. Let's go share this with some homies. Let's
seven at a time.
Yeah, let's go find some random people to smoke it up.
I did that the other day. I went out and found some random people to smoke up on the street. I smoked up some homeless people in the morning. I did a wake and bake, and then I smoked up this cat. Well, actually, he smoked me up. This young cat on the street, and he talked a little bit on my Facebook feed. And then I had a tasting that night, and I had some really good weed, really, really good weed, and found these two homeless cats, and I gave them that weed and had them taste it. So yeah, man,
that was cool, man. I'd be careful, like still sharing. I'd probably have like separate joints or something. But
that's what I did.
Personally, oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Oh, great. And so, yeah, I'm not as afraid of it, right? Like some people are. I think you should be smart about everything. But yeah, I think thought that was such a good thing you were doing, just being out there. And I've been out downtown and wondered, where can I smoke? And sometimes if I'm by myself, I can just pull up to a corner and hit it real quick and no one knows. But if you create too big of a crowd, sometimes my radar starts going off like I'm going to get in trouble. So it's pretty brave to do it where you're just going to create a crowd and kind of do that. But I've always just roamed around there and find like cracks and crevices of smoke because it's kind of fun.
But I'm to the point now that if they're going to tax us so much for weed and they're going to fill in the potholes and they're going to put in new slides in the playgrounds, they're just going to have to open up. They can't tax me for something that they won't let me use. It's just I'm done.
I like that thought. I think I'm right there with you. I really do. It's not hurting anyone. No one's getting hot. You square off a park for us. I don't care. You give us a place to smoke that's not like all cramped up or you have to pay to get in. Like, come on, man.
I think this whole thing about treating people badly because they don't do what you do is really bad. I mean, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but I wouldn't dare take my friend and say, "Hey, man, it's minus 10 degrees outside. You have to go outside to engage in your habit because we just don't like you." It makes zero sense to me because it hasn't stopped anybody from dying from cancer. That was the key. We're going to keep smokers away from non-smokers because we don't want the non-smokers to die from cancer. Guess what? They found a different cancer to die from. Fuck. Imagine that.
It's going to change. My grandpa was like that too. He quit smoking cigarettes. He quit drinking alcohol, but sometimes he'd have a beer in the fridge for his friends, and he would always let him smoke wherever he was. He didn't care.
Yeah.
And I really respected that. Like, now you might see it a little differently, and of course, you don't want to smoke around kids. I was one of those kids, and I don't think it's very healthy.
But you survived.
Come on, don't be a hypocrite.
Did you die?
Don't make it weird all the time. Let people do what they like to do, even though it's bad. You have the proof right here. Maybe they just don't give a fuck, and they want to do whatever the hell they want to do.
I agree with that sentiment. Maybe they don't. And I have to agree with your grandfather because when I quit smoking, I never stopped anybody from smoking around me. Mm-hmm. If it got too much for me, I would leave,
Right.
Because I'm not going to stop. And if it's in my house, I don't have to have it. But if I'm in somebody else's house,
in your car, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, and he even let him smoke inside their house, which I don't recommend, but that was pretty cool of him,
Yeah, I go places like, and if I don't, and one of my best excuses really is if there's a place that is going to be around a bunch of drunks and people that smoke cigarettes, oh man, I'm sorry, I'm an alcoholic, I can't be there, yeah, so I don't. So you don't have to be around a bunch of drunks and smell like cigarette smoke, man. I would rather be around a bunch of hippies tripping on fucking mushrooms and running around the lake and half naked girls and all that other stuff because that is always fun. Then you're sitting in a bar watching sloppy people do sloppy things with the sloppy parts.
We don't have to nerf up the whole world or change the whole world for every single person. Some people like this, some people like this, some people like that. If you don't like it, go over there.
I like what you said. We don't have to nerf up the entire world. There is no nerfing the world. We should stop nerfing the world.
We should stop trying, too, because it ain't going to happen.
Exactly. I have to agree with that.
It's not going to change because someone else feels bad. I'm sorry. I love people. I love everyone.
What would you consider nerfing? What has been nerfed?
Oh man, people's emotions. I was called nigger on a regular basis before when I worked in the 80s, and it was because they were people who were trying to get on your nerves, and they knew if you were too soft that they could use a word to get underneath your skin, and then it could stay there all day, and so you had to have some thick skins, and when I was growing up, there were people like Ricky Lake on TV that were putting the Ku Klux Klan against the Black Panther on fucking public television during prime time, right? So, I mean, now you hear somebody say, "Oh, I think he said something about a person of color," and oh, dog whistle, dog whistle. They are proud people and bad boys and antithesis. And I'm like, man, you guys are really pussies.
Right.
Because there,
Come on.
when there was real racism, people got along better because there was real war,
It was
and you recognized a person for being the person that they brought to the table. You didn't have to look across the street at a pink-haired person and guess, are they a Zim, a Zer, a thing, a there, a what, or whatever, right? And then if they showed up and they were half wackadoodle and they spoke poorly, you didn't have to address their disadvantages as being part of a cultural concept that really disenfranchised so many people historically, and we have to give credence to what they say. No, back in the 80s when I was growing up, if you were a fool, we called you a fool. We treated you like a fool. We made sure that everybody, all our friends, treated you like a fool.
You act
Until you weren't a fool anymore.
fool.
And so everything has been nerfed, man. You can't eat. You have to go to the store and buy a toy and look at the label.
Right.
A toy.
Every toy gun has orange on it now, which is probably for the best in that.
No, it's not for the best. No. They're trying to tell you that you are too dumb to know one from another.
That is the point that you're right.
They
think we're dumb. So they have to give us stuffed animals instead of real animals.
Right. And and like you said, the nerfing of the world and the cannabis industry comes from the people who think, therefore they shit all over everybody. So because they think that cannabis is bad, they shit over the entire process. They don't take time to do the research and the development.
They didn't even try it themselves.
Or I don't mind if they don't try it, but if you're not going to try it, keep your mouth shut. If you're not going to try it, at least listen to the people that have and that have succeeded doing it. Don't listen to the people that have and said, "Oh, it was way too powerful for me because I used to smoke weed back in the 60s when it was so much less powerful. But this stuff that you're smoking now, I don't even think I could get out of bed if I took a hit." Don't take a hit. We don't want you. Really, we don't want you.
Take a hit and plan on being there for 3 days.
Right, or like
come to the party.
You better, take a hit. And maybe if you skip this party because you got too stoned,
you can come to the next one.
Or you did a lot of people a favor, right?
Yeah, I think it helps with self-work. So if you're high in your room, what's that going to hurt?
If you're high in your room and you are a violent person, and what you said is, today I'm not going to do violent, I'm going to smoke a joint, and if I still feel like doing violent, I will do it. Okay? How many violent people do you know smash an entire gram of weed and then all of a sudden go, I need to run up there and crack that dude upside the head for no given reason.
Let's go.
Yeah. Usually they say, God, I wish I could crack that refrigerator and see a full pizza in there.
Crack that beer.
Yeah,
Just kidding. But yeah, no, it's a much different thing.
Dip your hand into that cookie jar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, there. Yep. A lot of people give us fictionalized worst case scenarios. They make us argue against that fictionalized worst case scenario. They attach fictionalized occurrences to a fictionalized worst case scenario. And we are still busy fighting that fiction. We are still busy fighting the Anslinger fiction of
of your killing the whole family with an axe.
Right.
Well, I mean, you said it best. Like, fear is a great motivator.
Yes.
So it's a very powerful tool that people know how to use expertly and still employ it to this day just because people respond to it. So I mean, it helps you stay sober. It's going to help people stay away from weed if they're so inclined to be afraid in that way.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Or those people who are predetermined to be the busybody in everybody's business, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what the government does is empowers those people to report on their neighbors. And we see right now we have a name for them. It's called Karens, right? The Karens that walk in and do all the most outlandish bullshit because they are right and you are not. And they're going to make sure that everybody in the world knows that you are an asshole and that you can. Yeah, they're smarter.
Yeah, we've all met one.
We've met one. There's flocks of them. They're everywhere. And they're men and they're women.
I guess I'm lucky. I've only met one.
Oh, dude. I thought you said you were on Facebook.
I'm in hibernation right now.
Yeah, I had to stop doing so much social media because with the election, all of the Karens are out.
Oh, man. Let me tell you. I mean,
I'll say that you've never worked enough customer service in your life.
I have, but not lately.
You on a daily basis working customer service.
Not the last year, but yeah, I've worked customer service since I've been 8 years old. But,
Karens are in way more abundance nowadays, or at least they're more upfront. They're more in the upfront, I guess.
Yeah, in the limelight for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
limelight.
Because they have been empowered by these people who say, well, it's the doxing generation, right? Karens are just big doxers. Isn't that what they are?
I believe that.
And so they try to dox you in front of a bunch of people so that they can throw shame on you, right?
Yep, exactly.
And have power against you.
Right.
Yeah, because
here's a story.
Doesn't like you, but here, let me just tell you my weapon against that.
Okay.
Is that okay? You're gonna cancel me? Well, I'm gonna have nothing for you to cancel. So good luck. I'm gonna speak my mind at all times, and if they don't like it, they can stop listening.
Well, the problem with that is that they silence you in that. And because there's that's cool. They silence you in that, and that you're not doing anything for them to cancel, right? Because you're not giving them anything to cancel. Think about people who are just actually living their life, just going around doing what they do, and then all of a sudden the Karen decides that is something that they need to protest for whatever reason. You could have a Hawaiian shirt. You could have a Hawaiian shirt on, and you could be a black guy in a Hawaiian shirt, and then some Karen goes up there and says you're doing cultural appropriation, right? You are not of Hawaiian descent, because I lived in Hawaii with my white ass, and like Elizabeth Warren and her Indian heritage, right?
Yeah.
How many times has she gotten in the face of other people and told them about themselves because she felt empowered to, because she was lying about her heritage?
Wow.
Right? It's not just, it's those aspects that are brought on by this empowerment of the Karens. The empowerment of the Karens, and you can see it in politics, and you see it all through the education now. The empowerment of the Karens has gotten in people like that Rebecca, what's her name, that was the white lady that tried to pretend that she was black and she ran the NAACP.
I don't know. Not familiar with her.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are pretending that are actually of one race, trying to be disadvantaged or trying to say that they are another race because they want to be they like the underdog scenario. I'm an underdog, and so therefore, because I am an underdog, you can't hit me, but I can say the most atrocious things about you.
And you owe me.
And you owe me, exactly, because I'm the underdog. And so there's a lot of people who are not underdogs that are claiming underdog position, and they are attesting to trying to save someone from something that they just do not need saved from.
And that they have no clue about.
And they have no idea about. You're exactly right.
Ah, man. All right, we're done. Thank you that really
just solve the world's problem. Yeah.
Hey, Rodney, man, that really did just hit hard. Man, that's what I've been going through in my mind too, and it's not gonna upset me like it used to. I'm gonna take the higher road and do my best to not let these things that are serious get to me, because I know that love prevails, and if I just keep doing the things that feel good and that are helpful and those type of things, eventually it will prevail. And those other people are going to drive themselves nuts trying to be someone they're not.
You came into a very bright realization right there. And basically it boils down to mind your own business. If you keep your mind on helping people heal through massage therapy, which is your business, right? And there's a whole lot less for them to bother with. And when they do bother you, at least you know your business. They can't throw you off track, right? They're getting to the people who are not moored in anything solid. They don't have any real skills. They're easily substituted out of their job.
Their mold is replicable.
What's that?
Their mold is still there. They didn't break their mold. You know how most people say they broke the mold when they made that person. Well, these people are created straight out of the mold, some of them.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can see it because people substitute different spouses. The divorce rate is high. They substitute schooling. The dropout rate is high. They substitute everything now because there is nothing that they are moored or anchored to. There's
right. They're not themselves.
They're not themselves.
No. And that's what I've tried to pride myself. And I can tell Andrew's known me since third grade. I've always tried to make decisions for myself and be independent and be unique. It was just a quality that kind of I was. It wasn't that I was trying.
Exactly.
Just who I am. And I think everyone has that. Some people are just afraid to embrace it because they'll be called everything
racist,
that I've been called.
Bigoted, homophobic, self-centered, egotistical. You don't care about anybody. You only care about yourself. You don't have any feelings. Where are your emotions at? How come you only think logical? And there's more than that. There's more to life than just la 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 la.
Making me cry.
I know, because you said something when my mom died when I was X amount old, and you said something that would hurt my feelings if I was a 5-year-old, and I'm crying right now because I'm 36 years old and I'm still in touch with my child side. You son of a...
That just brought back this...
Yeah, man.
No, have a little bit of tough skin, like you said.
Yeah.
Get it. If you want to learn how to... what people have gone through, then go through it. Go to New Orleans in the 9th Ward and talk to the people from the 9th Ward, and go to Detroit and talk to the people from Detroit. And
just go down and smoke up some homeless people and listen to what they have to say.
Hey, that's much better, to be honest with you.
You know, go down and volunteer to feed some people who, you know, if they need it or not, listen to what they have to say about why they are willing to stand in line and receive food from a perfect stranger versus work and buy food for themselves. Why is that? And once you start listening to some of their answers, you will have a change of heart. You really will. Your emotions change, your attitudes change, and you realize that these people are suffering through or are suffering the ramifications of policies that they could not have expected to happen. When I was homeless, the biggest thing that causes homelessness is a catastrophic separation from things that you love. That's what causes homelessness. It is if you get separated from your family, like men, if they get thrown out of their houses or they get separated from jobs that they like, it is hard for men, especially, to adjust to that situation because they closely identify their work or their family with their internal identity. And if you shatter the internal identity, you will create a way by which these people cannot grasp onto a sense of reality. And in that, you will have people that make very rational decisions. And those rational decisions are, it hurt when I was a plumber to be told I couldn't plumb anymore because somebody in Washington decided that plumbing should cost more billions of dollars and my boss is not willing to pay that. And since I was the lowest one on the totem pole making $20 an hour, now I can't make $20 an hour. I don't know what else to do. I'm never going to do that shit again. I just think I'll live off of the land, kind of like what you were saying. Mm-hmm. I'll just live off of the land, but living off the land in the city means that you go homeless and you just start eating at shelters and sleeping at shelters and shit.
True. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I feel like the long-term elites know this, and that's how they control us. They're
exactly
tugging at our heartstrings and our emotions. And I've been seeing this with all the politics. They give you someone and then take them away, tug at your heartstrings, give you this, take it away. This person, it's just like they want you to feel emotional, whether it be left or right, whatever side. They're trying to raise your emotions, and are they creating your emotions so they can help you create the reality that they want?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
They are creating the circumstance by which you will engage your emotions so that you can help them create their reality. Yes, that is exactly right.
So we need to
create our own reality, mind our own business.
Out of love instead of all these fearful, hateful things that they've been doing over 50 years.
Exactly. And Jocko is a podcast character that I started following. He's a Marine. You know Jocko?
I love him.
Yeah.
He does a meditation at the end. He's all about love. He's all about white light. He's all about consciousness.
Right.
That's where we need to go. He's so right. He even brings up a point. Like, we're at a splitting point where we can go one way or another. And that's why we need to maintain our own well-being and our own health, our own mind. We need to not let anybody be feeding us anything else but our just getting into our own mind, meditating and feeling what we feel instead of having everyone tell us what to feel all the time. It's getting old, and no one's ever told me how to feel. I've never listened to anyone and said, "Oh, you're right. You know what? That's exactly how I feel." I guess some people have changed my mind, and you can go with that feel, but when it really comes down to it, the actual feeling, I've actually created those feelings within me, not from someone on the outside.
And that's really, really important because everything nowadays is geared towards creating you to have feelings. Everything. I mean, and it's hard not to have feelings. I mean, when you look at the art that is on the street, there are so many dramatic pieces, and there are so many worthy causes, and there are so many malnourished orphans, and
Yeah,
good
so many
Lord.
people that need help.
Well, what they do is they beat your emotions up to when you right in front of you, when there is someone right in front of you that could really need the attention, you feel obligated to pass them by because they're just one person when on TV you saw 1,000, I mean,
and how easy is it for you to just pull out your debit card and give that person on TV money, even though the actual person that needs help is probably getting a penny on the dollar?
I had a conversation on the bus one day with about a couple of people, and we were talking about giving. And when I give someone money, I never put any constraints on that. And I usually give $5 or $10 a day. I give somebody something, some weed or $5 or $2 or $3 or something like that. Because I'm always downtown, and if I have loose change, I'll give it to them. But I won't tell them, oh, don't take this money and spend it on cigarettes. Don't take this money and spend it on booze. I never say that, right? Because you're turning that person into a liar. No one is borrowing money to go and get an education like we do, right? They are borrowing money on the street so that they can eat, drink, and fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you, but I had an interesting experience one time because I don't like to give it to people for alcohol. So if I'm giving away money, I would just buy them food. I don't like to make them lie. You're exactly right. But one person did tell me they wanted it for alcohol, and I just like, man, that guy told me the truth. Here you go. Here's $5.
Yep.
I like people telling me the truth. So if I asked them what it was for and they lied to me, then I would rather give it to the person who told me the truth than that said they needed alcohol. I don't know.
Well, see, I just run into so many people that say, oh, I don't give anybody, like you just said, I'll buy them a sandwich. Man, I give to make people happy, not to make me happy, right? I don't give money to make me happy. I give money to make other people happy, right? And in turn, I become happy because they become happy. It is not the other way around, right? And
we can't determine their alcohol problem. It's not on us. Right.
Well, hold on. Let's think this guy is a real alcoholic. Let's say he has a real problem and he just woke up and his head is pounding and his nose is fucking running and he smells like 3 pounds of bullshit, right? He's gonna find a drink. One way or another, he's gonna find a drink because that's what he does, right?
He's good at it.
Yeah. So if you give him the ability to go ahead and get a drink, he may not have to go through the whole situation of finding one. He may just go ahead and go down and get one and be better. And so is everyone else.
And that was a good day for him.
That was a good day for him. And you made him happy. It's about their happiness. It is not about your happiness. Right now, our system has us thinking that it is always just about us. Oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. No, dude, you're just a compilation of what other people are not, right? Because not everybody can be everything. You're the one thing that somebody else is not.
Yeah. You don't want another you out there, man.
Please, good Lord. I can barely stand personally. Right.
Yeah. Shit, I mean, we're such strong spirits that one of us is all I can handle of me.
Man, I get sick of me. I couldn't deal with a few more of me. I would. Matter of fact, so I dated a girl that was a whole lot like me, and that was some of the biggest fights I ever had. And I thought, oh man,
subtract.
She digs everything that I dig. She does everything that I do. We're in the same groups or all that. But she was just about 3 degrees to the left of me, and it caused all kinds of problems.
Well, I mean, I really like how Bob Marley puts it. He just says, love the life you live and live the life you love.
I think it was, what was that author's name? I'll think of it in just a second.
Am I quoting someone else?
No, it's I can't remember the author. Bukowski. It was Charles Bukowski who says, "Find what you love and let it kill you."
Okay. Yes.
And I think people have done that with alcohol. I think people have done that with heroin. I think people have done that with food. I think people have done that with a lot of things, and they cannot. And people who are on the outside of that love affair do not understand that people are just following some very, very simple advice. I found something that I'm really, really good at, and there's nothing else I can really, really do that I really, really like, and I'm just going to engage into it until I'm dead. And we say, wow, what a waste. You could have been this, you could have been that, you could have been all that. And they said, I am what I am.
I can respect that. I'm not going to live that way because, like, I've seen someone like drink their life away, and I don't think I think that's shortcoming. I think life can be more fulfilling than drinking your life away. So if you find alcohol and you love it and let it kill you, to me, that's not a fulfilled life. But
that's not you. That's not you.
That's me. That's my opinion and me judging that, I guess.
Right. That's your judgment of their behavior. And it's just like a bull rider. Who in the fuck is going to jump on? And I admire the hell out of bull riders. Don't get me wrong. I love bull riders.
Grandpa was one.
Yeah, I love bull riders. But what in the fuck is crazier than that?
Right.
I would rather have a drink.
You're right, man. Everybody is their own person, man.
Exactly.
I can't expect them to do what I would do. And
right.
If they looked at me, they'd probably be like, "What the hell are you doing with your life, boy?"
Yeah,
why
aren't you riding more bulls, man? If you rode more bulls, you would be a better man. Why don't you go out there and ride some more bulls? That's what you need to do, is go ride more bulls.
Right, because it makes you feel good. Yeah, it's like skydiving, and I'm like, no way in hell I'm jumping out of a plane. Other people love it, so it's good. That's what makes us as individuals. We love different things, and we just need to show respect for each other of liking those other things. We don't have to like all the same things.
You don't have to like everything. There's this lady said something the other day when I was out smoking with her. She says, you know what? I don't have to like everybody, but I really don't have to go out of my way to hate them either.
Wow.
And I think that there's a lot of people who do not like what people are doing, and they are going exceptionally far out of their way to hate them just because they just don't like them. And she said that, and that made so much sense. Yeah, I may not like what you're doing, and it may not be anything that I do, but I don't have to go all the way out of my way to hate you for it. Mm-hmm. She caught me by surprise because she was absolutely right.
That person, they came to this life to do that thing, so let them do it. And I need to remind myself. I'll listen to this again and again, but just because I say this doesn't mean I'm perfect and I do these things all the time. These are just what I strive to be and who I strive to be. I'm 35, young man, and I want to just be the best I can be. And I think you said that same thing earlier, Rodney. So I do respect that. I really respect, what you're talking about and what you're doing out on the street, as far as just getting, people's opinions and actually making those count. I think it's really important, and you make people feel important when you're out there.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you very much.
Yep, definitely appreciate all that, and coming by it as well and talking to us and just hanging out for hours here. So,
yeah,
it's hard.
Let's have a 30-minute podcast 2.5 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hard to break up those conversations because they flow so well, and but all good things must come to an end.
Hey,
right?
Joe Rogan made the 3-hour podcast fashionable.
Yeah.
So we're just emulating success.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do. But yeah.
It was free flowing. We didn't force it either.
No, and you guys are fabulous, and I thank you for considering me to talk to for so long. I mean, I don't know what you guys said, but like I said, I have words, man, and I can use them. So, but Brandon and Andrew and your podcast, Diametric Convergence, is before I got on your podcast, I looked up the definitions of diametric convergence, and diametric convergence only really happens when two lines really cross. That's the only time that really happens. Two lines going different directions actually cross, because diametrically opposed people very, very rarely converge on anything because they're going in different directions. And when two lines cross paths, there has to be something in there. And I think we've crossed these paths for this kind of information to be shared with the people that you guys are going to share it with on your podcast. And I gotta say that it makes me feel, I feel special as fuck when Brandon called me up and said, "Man, we want to talk to you about what you did." Man, dude, I'm really, that was so cool. And Andrew being able to put up with me going through all my technical shit and then saying, let's do it again some other day, instead of saying, "Oh, that was kind of cool of you. Yeah, thanks a lot, stupid."
Hey, it's all love, man.
Yeah. I mean, can't miss out on this stuff. So I'm not going to just give up on it and say, "Hey, good luck next time. Maybe you'll find somewhere you'll fit." So no.
Thanks,
we definitely enjoyed having you on, and we'll absolutely have you back as well, just to continue the convergence.
I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. I wish you the best of luck. And if there's anything that we can do here at Liberty Leaf or the Liberty of Weed or Safe TV Communications or Media, you just let me know.
Hey, thank you so much. It's total honor to have you here, and definitely looking forward to much more conversations. And
if you run into people who are diametrically opposed to my position, let's have it on so we can have a convergence. How about that, huh?
Hey, beautiful. I love
that. Look out for it.
Right, we need more convergence in this life.
Explore that avenue for sure.
Yeah, we need more.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks again, Rodney. Appreciate it. Keep on doing what you're doing. Wish you all the best between now and the next time that we meet.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you very much, Brandon. Truly do appreciate it.
Stay beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You too.